On the very night you agreed to divorce your wife, she finally slipped into your bed, wrapping her arms around you from behind. "Stop pretending. I know you're awake," she whispered. "Didn't you marry me just for this moment?" Hearing those words, your once hopeful heart instantly turned to ash. Did she honestly think you threw away your true identity as the crown prince of the York family just to become a lowly live-in son-in-law for the Lee family, all for one night of pity? Seeing you completely unresponsive, Sarah pressed on. "Do you really need me to spell it out tonight? You can do whatever you want to me. After all, you've taken care of me for 3 years. Just consider this my payment to you." Disgusted, you finally snapped and shoved her away. "Sarah, are you out of your damn mind?" Hearing your outburst, Sarah stared at you in absolute shock. "What did you just say?" Suddenly, the man standing before her felt like a total stranger. For the past 3 years, she was dead set on the idea that Mark was desperate to touch her. She only refused because she wanted to keep herself pure for her first love. Yet now, when she was practically throwing herself at him, he actually rejected her. Before she could even process it, you kicked her right out of the room. With your supreme, unmatched status in this country, what kind of woman couldn't you have? But the one and only woman you ever gave your true heart to actually thought you were just lusting after her body. A wave of sickening disgust washed over you. Meanwhile, storming back to her own bedroom, Sarah's face flushed with a mix of utter confusion and bitter humiliation. "What an idiot. I offer myself to him on a silver platter, and he doesn't even want it. What kind of man is he?" Right at that moment, a soft knock came from the door. "Miss Lee, this is the soup Mr. Mark brewed for you." Sarah impatiently waved her hand, cutting the nanny off. "Throw it away." The nanny froze for a second, then spoke up carefully. "But Miss Lee, Mr. Mark stood over the stove all afternoon just to make this specifically for you. Pouring it down the drain would be such a shame." Hearing this, Sarah glanced down at the steaming bowl in the nanny's hands. She stayed silent for a long, heavy moment. "Just leave it on the table. I'll drink it later." Deep down, she had to admit ever since her illness, if she didn't drink Mark's homemade soup before bed, she simply couldn't sleep a wink. Once the nanny left, Sarah picked up the perfectly warm broth and downed it in one go. Almost immediately, she drifted off to sleep. This time, she slept incredibly peacefully. In her hazy slumber, she felt like she was trapped in a dream. A very, very long dream. Early the next morning, you grabbed your luggage and headed out to an abandoned clearing. Then, you made a single phone call. 20 minutes later, a massive helicopter descended from the sky, kicking up a storm of dust. A man in his 60s rushed over, his face beaming with excitement. "Young master, this old servant has finally lived to see this day." You just smiled and gave a gentle nod. "Alfred, it's been way too long. Let's go home." That old man was Alfred, the fiercely loyal butler of the absolute wealthiest family in the capital, the Yorks. And your real name? It was never Mark. It was Martin. Martin York. The hidden dragon was finally returning to his rightful throne. Alfred bowed respectfully, tears welling in his eyes. "Good, good, good. The master is going to be absolutely thrilled." Looking at the old man's emotion, a heavy wave of guilt washed over your heart. Back then, just to marry Sarah, you almost permanently severed ties with your own father. Looking back on it now, you really did the old man dirty. Fast forward to almost noon, when Sarah finally woke up, she glanced over at the maids and casually asked, "Did Mark leave?" The maids just stared at her in total confusion. "Mark? Who is Mark?" Hearing this, Sarah's eyes went wide. "Are you kidding? You guys seriously don't know Mark?" The surrounding maids all shook their heads in unison. "Miss, we have literally never heard that name before." Now, a real sense of panic hit Sarah. "How is that even possible? He's my ex-husband. We literally just ate dinner together last night. Did you all catch some kind of collective amnesia?" But the maids just kept shaking their heads. "Mrs. Lee, are you sure you aren't remembering things wrong? There has never been anyone named Mark in this house. Besides, you have never been married to anyone. That is absolutely impossible." Sarah roared, cutting them right off. Frantic, she started tearing through the house, desperately searching for anything that proved he existed. She knew damn well she was married, and they had just finalized the divorce last night. There had to be some sort of clue left behind, but after turning the entire place upside down, she found absolutely zero trace of Mark. Nothing. Even every single photo and message related to him on her phone had vanished into thin air. Furious, she glared daggers at the maids. "What the hell is going on here? If anyone dares to lie to me again, I'm firing you on the spot." Seeing that they couldn't keep up the act any longer, the maids finally caved. Mrs. Lee. Mr. Mark made us do this. He said he didn't want to leave you with a single memory of him. So, he begged us to pretend we didn't know him. Hearing this, the color drained from Sarah's face, leaving behind an incredibly ugly expression. Mark, do you really hate me that much? So what if I never loved you? We were still together for 3 whole years, and you won't even leave behind a single memory? You are so undeniably cruel. She snapped her head up, glaring furiously at the trembling staff. All of you, get out. Right now, at this moment, she just wanted to be alone. For some twisted reason, she wasn't nearly as thrilled as she thought she'd be. Instead, an empty, hollow sadness weighed her down. Why? She had no clue, but a tiny sliver of doubt started creeping into her heart. Could it be that I actually developed feelings for him? But she quickly smashed that thought to pieces. How is that even possible? The only man I've ever loved is my white knight, Tommy. Now that Tommy is finally coming back from overseas, and that cheap, pathetic substitute is out of my life, I should be celebrating. Comforted by her own denial, Sarah let out a cold, bitter laugh. What's the big deal anyway? Mark? Oh, Mark. Just you wait. I'll forget about your pathetic existence in no time. In fact, you're the one who will be drowning in the agony of losing me. Meanwhile, miles away at the extravagant York family estate in the capital, the mighty family head, Arthur York, practically leaped from his seat. Marty, is that you? His voice trembled with raw emotion. It's me, Dad. I'm finally back. Arthur York's eyes instantly welled up with red-hot tears. You damn brat. So you finally figured out how to find your way home? I was starting to think I'd have no one around to pull the plug for me when I get old. You just lowered your head, overwhelmed with incredible guilt. Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you back then. I put you through hell. Arthur waved his hand dismissively. Ah, fathers and sons are bound to butt heads. But wait. Why did you come back all by yourself? Where the heck is my daughter-in-law? Hearing this, you completely froze. What daughter-in-law? Arthur looked at you like you were crazy. Who else? Sarah Lee. Didn't you swear up and down that she was the only woman for you? You practically disowned me over her. So why didn't she come back with you? The truth was, out of sheer love for his son, Arthur had secretly accepted Sarah into his heart a long time ago. You finally caught his drift and replied with brutal honesty. Dad, we're already divorced. Divorced? Arthur was totally dumbfounded. What in the world happened? Left with no other choice, you spilled everything that had gone down over the past few days. When Arthur heard that this woman actually used his precious son as a cheap stand-in for some scumbag for 3 whole years, he couldn't help but let out a vicious, icy snort. That foolish girl could have been the luckiest woman in the entire world, yet she threw away a magnificent ocean for a stinking gutter. All right, Dad, let's drop it. I don't want to talk about her anymore. While I was gone, did anything major happen with the family business? You asked, shifting gears with genuine concern. Of course not, Arthur replied, flashing a fiercely confident smile. With me holding the reins, what could possibly go wrong? But after pausing for a second, he corrected himself. Actually, if we're talking business, there is one thing. The family is planning a massive shift. We're moving our main investment focus straight into Riverdale Province this year. Right now, the only thing we're missing is the right shark to run the operation. You nodded thoughtfully. That is a massive move. Honestly, I'm extremely optimistic about Riverdale's market potential too. The room for growth over there is practically limitless. Arthur shot his son a look of deep approval. Then, do you happen to have any solid candidates in mind? Without missing a beat, you volunteered yourself. I'll do it. I may not have been home for the past 3 years, but I definitely haven't been slacking off. I've been keeping a razor-sharp eye on the domestic economy. Hearing your confidence, Arthur actually looked a bit conflicted. Truth be told, you're easily the best man for the job. But Sarah lives in Riverdale. I'm just afraid that you knew exactly what your old man was terrified of. He was dead worried that you were going to crawl back and rekindle that toxic flame with your ex-wife. So, looking him dead in the eye, you spoke with absolute certainty. Dad, you can relax. I'm done being a naive kid. I know exactly what this family means to me now. But Arthur still looked uneasy. Son, she treated you like trash because she didn't know your true identity. If you march back in there now and she finds out who you really are, can you honestly guarantee she won't come crawling back in regret? You let out a dark, icy sneer. So what if she regrets it? Making a stupid mistake like her once in a lifetime is more than enough. Hearing that ruthless edge in your voice, Arthur burst into laughter and slapped his thigh. Good, good, good. That's my boy. Hearing you say that puts my mind completely at ease. Go get your things ready, kid. I'll personally see you off. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, Sarah finally dragged herself home after an exhausting day. She kicked off her painful high heels, collapsed onto the plush sofa, and out of sheer habit, yelled, "Mark, get over here and rub my feet. I'm completely dead." But after a long, deafening silence, reality finally hit her. She was divorced. Mark was gone. He had walked out of this house, and her life, for good. Just then, a maid awkwardly shuffled over. "Miss Lee, Mr. Mark is already gone. Would you like me to massage them for you instead?" Sarah waved her off irritably. "Forget it. Is dinner ready?" The truth was, she couldn't stand the thought of anyone else touching her feet. The maid nodded timidly. "It's all prepared, ma'am. We made everything exactly the way Mr. Mark taught us." Sarah's brow furrowed in deep frustration. Why the hell is his ghost everywhere? But she swallowed her complaints. After all, she couldn't deny it. The food Mark cooked was absolutely mouth-watering. Sarah dragged her exhausted body to the dining table, but the second she took a bite, she spat it right out. "Why does this taste like absolute garbage?" The maid jumped in pure terror, hastily explaining, We were all trained by Mr. Mark. He used to cook it exactly like this. How could it be any different?" "Bullshit," Sarah roared, completely furious. "If it's exactly the same, then why is the taste miles apart? Are you idiots just slacking off?" The maid was sweating bullets from pure panic. "That's impossible. When Mr. Mark cooked, we were right there watching his every move. The heat, the ingredients, everything is completely identical. How could the taste possibly be different?" Sarah irritably slammed her chopsticks down. "Take this trash back and remake it right now. If you dare to half-ass this again, you can pack your bags and get the hell out." Hearing this threat, the terrified maids hurriedly cleared the table and rushed into the kitchen to start all over. Who knows how much time actually passed. They finally brought out another steaming pot of stewed meat, placing it nervously on the table. Sarah just took a tiny sip and spat it out all over again. "Wrong. Wrong. It's still completely wrong. It tastes just as much like garbage as before." The maids were trembling like leaves in a winter storm. How about we make another portion?" Sarah shot down their suggestion instantly. "If the core flavor is missing, making it 100 times won't fix a damn thing. Forget it, I'm not eating. Take it all away." The maids felt like they had just received a royal pardon, quickly clearing all the food away. Back in her room, Sarah pulled out her phone and called her best friend, Chloe. "Chloe, do you happen to have Mark's contact info?" On the other end, Chloe was absolutely dumbfounded. "Sarah, are you out of your mind? You're actually asking me for your own husband's phone number?" Sarah had no choice but to awkwardly explain. I divorced him. When he left, he deleted all his contact info from my phone." Chloe couldn't help but gasp in utter shock. "No freaking way, Sarah. All of us girls were so insanely jealous that you bagged a perfect husband like Mark, and you actually divorced him? You've got to be joking. Did that guy cheat on you or something?" Sarah felt a sudden wave of irritation. "It has absolutely nothing to do with him. I initiated the divorce because Tommy is coming back to the country." But Chloe still found this incredibly hard to wrap her head around. "Tommy? You dumped Mark for that absolute scumbag? Girl, did you catch a fever and fry your brain?" As Sarah's best friend, Chloe had seen plain as day exactly how amazing Mark had treated Sarah over all these years. Back when Sarah was at her absolute lowest, most desperate point, Tommy was terrified of being dragged down and secretly fled the country like a coward. If it hadn't been for Mark over these past few years, constantly staying right by Sarah's side, everyone was terrified she might have done something incredibly stupid. Sarah scoffed with a hint of heavy disdain. Mark was just a temporary substitute. If he's gone, he's gone. Tommy is my one true love. No matter how hard it gets, I want to be with him. He must have had his own bitter reasons for leaving me back then. I've waited for that man for 3 long years. I absolutely refuse to miss out on him again." Chloe was completely speechless. "Whatever you say, girl, I just really hope you don't end up regretting this." Sarah raised her proud chin. "I, Sarah Lee, never do things I regret." Never have, never will, and I definitely won't start doing it now. Hearing this arrogant claim, Chloe probed tentatively. Well, bestie, since you've officially divorced Mark, you really shouldn't mind if I go after him, right? Hearing this, Sarah froze in shock. Wait, you want to chase Mark? On the phone, Chloe said it as if it were the most natural thing in the whole world. What's so weird about that? The guy is incredibly outstanding. Isn't it completely normal for a girl to chase him? Sarah replied nonchalantly, forcing a casual tone. Suit yourself. If you guys actually get together, I'll even give you my blessing. Chloe laughed. Keep your blessing. Just don't go crying and back on your word when the time comes. Chloe had a very strong intuition. Sarah was absolutely going to regret this massive mistake. Sarah couldn't even be bothered to argue with her anymore. After getting Mark's number, she abruptly hung up the phone. Tossing and turning in bed, Sarah was completely unable to fall asleep. She was clearly exhausted today, so why didn't she feel sleepy at all? Even worse, Mark's gentle figure just kept floating into her mind. She angrily smacked her own forehead. She never expected that on just the second day Mark was gone, she would already be suffering from insomnia. The very next morning, Sarah dragged herself to work with heavy dark circles under her eyes. She couldn't even be bothered to eat breakfast. In the days that followed, she doubled her workload, desperately trying to use the stress to numb herself so she wouldn't think of that man. Yet, she still felt like a huge piece was missing from her life. In reality, it was all just trivial everyday things, the meals, the care, but they turned out to be incredibly important. This hollow kind of life dragged on for a few days until today, when Sarah finally looked a bit more spirited. Why? Because today was the day her precious Tommy was finally returning to the country. She dressed up meticulously, then eagerly drove straight to the airport. The flight successfully arrived from the capital to Shanghai City in Riverdale. You calmly walked off the plane, carrying your luggage. Mark, why the hell are you here? Didn't you disappear? Oh, wait, I get it now. You're stalking me, aren't you? At this moment, Sarah was extremely annoyed. She had come all this way to wait for her perfect white night. And she never expected to bump into Mark of all people in the airport lobby. You cast a cold, completely indifferent glance at Sarah. Without even breaking your stride, you walked straight toward the lobby exit. Sarah hurriedly ran up and rudely blocked your path. Mark, I am talking to you. Why are you stalking me? If you don't explain yourself clearly right here, right now, don't even think about leaving. You finally stopped in your tracks. Your tone was icy cold. Move. It was as if you were talking to a complete stranger on the street. Sarah felt her massive pride being directly challenged. She roared. Mark, what kind of attitude is that? Why didn't you reply to any of my messages? Why did you pull a disappearing act only to purposely show up right in front of me? You completely ignored her childish outburst, simply turning around to walk toward another exit. Sarah scrambled to get in front of you again, glaring at you with a ridiculous condescending attitude. Mark, just admit it. You actually can't let me go at all, can you? You're doing all of this just to attract my attention, right? Right at this tense moment, a woman's voice rang out from behind you. Hello? Excuse me. Are you Mr. York? Chloe looked like she hadn't recovered from a massive shock yet, asking very cautiously. Earlier today, the company leadership had assigned her to pick up a VIP at the airport. When she saw the photo of the person she was supposed to pick up, she was instantly stunned to her core because the man in the photo looked exactly like Sarah's ex-husband, but the name on the official profile clearly said Martin York. Sarah immediately recognized her best friend's voice. She turned in total surprise. Chloe? What did you just call him? Mr. York? Chloe looked incredibly awkward, fidgeting nervously. Sarah, let me introduce you. This is our new boss, Martin York, calling him Mr. York out loud. Chloe wasn't exactly confident either. After all, Mark and this Martin looked way too similar. If there had to be a difference, it was that their auras felt like two completely different people. Mark was like an endlessly caring, warm guy, while this Martin was like a literal walking iceberg. Hearing this introduction, Sarah frowned deeply. What? Martin York? He is clearly Mark. I lived with this man for 3 whole years. Do you honestly think I wouldn't recognize my own husband? And since when did your company change bosses? Chloe whispered in a panicked explanation. I completely forgot to tell you, our company just got bought out. I only found out myself. I heard the new boss is some untouchable big shot from the capital. We didn't dare ask too many questions, But Sarah still found this incredibly hard to believe. In this massive world, are there really two people who look so identical? Or maybe Mark and Martin are secret twins? Chloe tugged frantically on Sarah's clothes, whispering, "Stop making a scene. If the new boss fires me because of your drama, I swear I'm never letting you hear the end of it." Only then did Sarah swallow her pride, looking at you apologetically. I'm so sorry. I mistook you for someone else just now. It's just that you and my husband, one of my friends, look way too similar. You still completely ignored Sarah. Glancing at Chloe beside you, you ordered coldly, "Let's go." "Wait a minute." Sarah shamelessly blocked your path once again. "Mr. Martin York, if you ever happen to meet someone who looks exactly like you, please pass a message to him for me. Tell him I'm looking for him." You looked down at Sarah coldly. "Why don't you just tell him yourself?" Sarah sighed in frustration and said, "I called him and texted him, but he hasn't replied at all. Maybe he just didn't see it." You gave her a totally disdainful glance. "Tell me, is there a possibility that he just blocked your number?" Hearing this blunt reality check, Sarah's face turned extremely ugly. "Impossible. He wouldn't dare block me." You replied with a dead, flat expression, "I was just saying it casually. Now, can I leave?" Only then did Sarah reluctantly move out of the way. Sorry for the trouble." Just as you were finally about to leave, Tommy came jogging over, waving frantically and greeting Sarah. "Sarah, over here." He ran right up in front of Sarah, and right there in broad daylight, in front of a massive airport crowd, he dramatically dropped to one knee. "My dearest Miss Sarah Lee, please marry me. I will use my entire life to cherish you. As long as you agree to marry me, I will give you everything I have, including my very life." At this exact moment, you who were just about to step out of the airport, stopped dead in your tracks, looking back at Tommy kneeling on the floor. Feeling the intense gazes of the huge crowd gathering around them, Sarah's face instantly turned bright beet red. She quickly winked frantically at Tommy, hissing, "Hurry up and get up. We can talk when you're up." Tommy gritted his teeth and stubbornly shook his head. "I won't get up, not unless you promise to marry me right now. Otherwise, I will kneel right here until I die." Seeing this overly dramatic scene, the passengers in the airport started cheering and hyping it up. "Marry him! Marry him!" Hearing the chants, Sarah's face turned even redder with embarrassment. She was way past the age for this kind of cringy, cheesy romance. Tommy's pathetic little stunt was making her skin crawl. "Just get up," Sarah hissed, practically begging. Out of the corner of her eye, she kept stealing glances at you. Deep down, she was still dead set on the idea that you were Mark. If you really were her ex-husband, watching another man propose to her would shatter your heart. But to her absolute shock, your face was a mask of pure, icy indifference. Was I really just overthinking it? A pang of bitter disappointment twisted in Sarah's chest. But the kneeling Tommy was clinging to his pride. "I am not moving an inch until you promise to marry me." Now, Sarah was genuinely furious. Her brow furrowed as she snapped, "If you don't get off the floor right now, I'm actually going to lose it." Hearing that, Tommy shot up like a coiled spring. Okay, I'm up. Just don't be mad." It was only then that he finally noticed you standing right there. His face scrunched up in disgust. "Mark? What the hell are you doing here?" You couldn't even be bothered to acknowledge the clown, turning on your heel to leave. But Tommy wasn't having it, chasing right after you. "Hey, Mark, I'm talking to you. Are you deaf?" "Oh, wait. I get it now. Are you still crying over Sarah dumping you? Is that why you stalked us all the way to the airport? Man, you have absolutely zero shame. You really didn't want to waste your breath on this loser. Move." You kept walking straight ahead, but Tommy was determined to be a roadblock. He jumped right in front of you again. "Look at you. I hit the nail right on the head, didn't I? You're feeling pretty pathetic right now, aren't you?" Your voice dropped to a dangerous growl. "Move." Tommy just sneered in your face. "Make me. What are you actually going to do about it?" "What am I going to do?" A cold, dark chuckle escaped your lips. You raised your hand and delivered a vicious slap right across his cheek. Smack. That single strike slapped Tommy straight into the next dimension of confusion. Clutching his stinging face, he stared at you in absolute, wide-eyed disbelief. "Mark, you actually dared to hit me? You son of a bitch." Before the words even fully left his mouth, Tommy was rolling up his sleeves, ready to lunge at you. But before he could even close the distance, smack, another brutal slap cracked across his face. Only this time, it wasn't you, it was Sarah. "Tommy, are you completely done making a fool of us? Sarah's eyebrows were pinched together in pure rage. She had never felt so utterly humiliated in her entire life. Ever since she reunited with Tommy at this crowded airport, it had been one agonizingly embarrassing nightmare after another. Why couldn't this idiot use his brain and consider her feelings for once? Clasping his cheek, which was already swelling up like a balloon, Tommy stared at her in utter shock. "Sarah, you actually slapped me? Over this useless piece of trash, Mark?" Sarah couldn't hold it back anymore and roared, "Are you done? He isn't Mark." But Tommy wasn't buying a single word of it. If this guy wasn't Mark, who the hell else could he be? "Sarah, I flew all the way back to this country specifically for you, and this is how you treat me?" Sarah just felt entirely drained. She dropped her voice, trembling with exhaustion. "Don't act like you're some noble hero. Didn't you run away and abandon me back then?" The bitter memories came flooding back. If Tommy hadn't pulled his vanishing act, she would never have become the town laughingstock. She had literally divorced her husband just to be with this man. What right did Tommy have to play the victim now? She was genuinely starting to wonder if the man standing in front of her was worth throwing her whole life away for. Compared to Mark, Tommy was incredibly selfish, only ever thinking about his own ego. Mark, on the other hand, had always put her feelings first, constantly putting himself in her shoes. And she had thrown Mark away for this guy? The crushing weight of regret was already creeping in. Tommy finally snapped out of his bruised ego. That was way too close, he panicked internally. I almost blew the whole thing. He absolutely could not afford to lose Sarah right now. He desperately needed her connections to save his failing overseas company from total bankruptcy. Shifting gears instantly, he pleaded, "I am so sorry, Sarah. I just care about you way too much. That's why I lost my mind for a second. I swear on my life it will never happen again. Please, forgive me." Hearing his desperate plea, Sarah let out a long, heavy sigh. "I lost my temper too, but you have to believe me, you are the only one in my heart. Why else would I have divorced him? I just need a little more time to process everything. Please, give me some time." Tommy slapped on a mask of deep, agonizing affection. "Okay. From now on, whatever you say, goes. I have all the time in the world. Even if I have to wait a lifetime, you're worth it." Sarah shook her head, a pathetic glimmer of affection returning to her eyes. "You idiot, how could I ever make you wait a lifetime?" Watching this nauseating soap opera unfold, you shot Chloe a look of pure disgust. "Let's get the hell out of here. Honestly, your heart didn't ache even a little bit. You just found the whole spectacle absolutely hilarious. These two hypocrites really were a match made in heaven. One was a married woman harboring feelings for an ex, and the other was a manipulative coward playing the perfect victim after abandoning her. It sparked a dark curiosity in you. If these two soulmates were forced to choose between true love and their own selfish interests, would they still act so sickeningly sweet? A ruthless plan began taking root in your mind. Soon enough, you followed Chloe back to the corporate office. The second you settled in, Chloe handed you a fresh, steaming cup of coffee. You scowled at the mug. "I generally don't drink coffee." Chloe instantly looked like a deer in headlights. "Oh, okay. I'll go pour it down the drain." You quickly waved her off. "Forget it, just leave it there. You already made it. Throwing it out is just a waste." Relieved, she set it down on your desk, her curiosity getting the better of her. "Mr. York, were you ever married before?" Every alarm bell in your head instantly started ringing. You eyed her with heavy suspicion. "Why on earth are you asking me that?" Chloe gave a playful little shrug. "No reason. I just figured a highly successful man like you probably had a wife, or maybe even 3 wives and 4 mistresses." You rolled your eyes. "I've never been married. And where exactly would I find the time for 3 wives and 4 mistresses?" A bright, mischievous smile lit up Chloe's face. "Wow, what a crazy coincidence. You're single, and I'm single." Using that logic, we're basically a match made in heaven, right? You nearly choked, spitting out the mouthful of coffee you had just taken. What kind of garbage logic was that? By her ridiculous standards, every single person on the planet was her soulmate. Panicking, Chloe snatched up a handful of tissues and rushed over, frantically trying to dab the coffee off your expensive suit. But whether it was a genuine accident or a calculated move, she kept pressing her body right up against yours. The plunging neckline of her top gave you a front-row seat to her assets. You now completely understood the old saying, "A slender branch bearing very heavy fruit." Realizing where this was heading, you swiftly grabbed her wrist to stop her. "All right, that's enough. I'll do it myself. Go grab the company's financial reports for me. Chloe let out a tiny sigh, having no choice but to step back and fetch the files. Underneath it all, her cheeks were burning furiously. She really had wanted to wipe that coffee off. Why did he have to spill it right there? She thought wildly. Did he do that on purpose? You, of course, were blissfully unaware of the romantic drama exploding in your assistant's head. Flipping through the financial reports, you suddenly looked up. Is there a real estate land auction happening this afternoon? Chloe snapped back to reality and nodded. Yes, Mr. York. It's for a plot over in the East District. You tapped your desk, making a quick decision. Get your things ready. You are coming with me this afternoon. Chloe's jaw practically dropped. Wait, are you actually planning to bid on that land? You just got to town, so you might not realize this, but the East District is essentially a barren wasteland. There is zero value there. Yet oddly enough, a ton of big players are circling it like vultures. It could be a total trap. You narrowed your eyes at her. Am I supposed to take that as you questioning my capabilities? Chloe waved her hands in a panic. No, you misunderstand. I just think the land is not worth it. Plus, this is a highly exclusive, private internal auction. You need top-tier qualifications just to get through the door. Trying to score an invite at the absolute last minute? It is impossible. You didn't waste a single breath arguing with her. You just pulled out your phone, dialed a private number, and gave a brief command. Less than 3 minutes later, you hung up and stared flatly at Chloe. It's handled. Go get the car ready. Chloe stared at you like you had just performed absolute magic. That fast? You leaned back in your chair, your voice dripping with cold, hard truth. Listen closely. In this world, there is only one rule. If you have money, and I mean real, undeniable wealth, everyone will bend over backward to pave the road for you. That is the raw power of capital. So-called procedures and protocols, in the face of true capital, they are nothing but a pathetic joke. Hearing that absolute boss drop, Chloe felt a wave of genuine admiration wash over her. She threw you an enthusiastic thumbs up. All right, you win. I'm totally convinced. I'll get ready right now. The second she slipped out the door, your phone buzzed. It was a standard text from Sarah. You had blocked her number from calling, but SMS messages still crept through. Mark, I really need to talk to you. I know you can read this. If you are willing, please, let's just meet up. Staring at the pathetic text, your first instinct was to delete it, but you quickly realized that to cut this cancer out of your life for good, you needed to make one final ruthless break. You quickly texted back. Send the location. The moment her reply popped up with the address, you grabbed your jacket and headed for the door. Seeing you step out, Chloe jumped to her feet. Mr. York, do you need me to tag along? You waved her off dismissively. No need. Just stay here and focus on your work. We are going to have a very busy afternoon. And with that, you strode out of the office, ready to finish things. Right then, Chloe's phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Hey Chloe, did your boss, Martin York, just leave? Staring at the screen, Chloe's mind started racing. Wait a minute. Did Sarah just ask Mark outright as Martin was walking out the door? Could Martin and Mark actually be the exact same person? Pushing down her shock, she quickly started typing out a reply. But right as she finished drafting the message, her heart skipped a beat. Acting on pure instinct, she deleted the whole thing. Instead, she typed, Nope, our boss Martin is still here at the office. Reading Chloe's reply, a wave of disappointment washed over Sarah. Was she really just overthinking things? I guess Martin and Mark really were two completely different people after all. But hey, at least Mark finally agreed to meet her face to face. That alone was a huge win. At least he wasn't dodging her calls like he used to. It didn't take long for the two of you to show up at the coffee shop you agreed on. What do you want from me? You demanded, cutting straight to the chase. Hearing the absolute frost in your voice, Sarah shifted uncomfortably. Mark, I know I'm the one who messed up here. I wronged you, she started, her voice dropping. So, I've always wanted to find a way to make it up to you. You know how I am. I absolutely hate owing emotional debts. You just frowned at her, completely unfazed. Now that you mention it, I really didn't know that about you. But look, the past doesn't matter anymore. You don't owe me a thing. From here on out, let's just stay out of each other's lives. You can at least manage that much, right? Hearing your blunt dismissal, Sarah's expression instantly turned ice cold. Mark, why are you lying to yourself? Deep down, you haven't let go of me at all, have you? Her sheer audacity was so annoying that you actually let out a dry laugh. Miss Lee, please, do tell me. Where exactly are you getting this confidence? What on earth makes you think I can't let you go? Staring at you dead in the eye, Sarah said in all seriousness. If you really didn't care about me, then why did you pack up absolutely everything when you left? You even went as far as arranging for the maids to have collective amnesia. That just proves you're still holding on to me. You sighed, rubbing your temples in absolute helplessness. Look, maybe some of my actions gave you the wrong idea. If so, my bad. But the only reason I came to see you today is to tell you this. Stop calling me, and stop texting me. Sarah's hands subconsciously balled up into tight fists. Mark, do you really hate me that much? You just shook your head, your eyes completely deadpan. You're seriously overthinking this. I don't love you anymore, so why would I even bother hating you? Hearing those crushing words, Sarah abruptly shot up from her seat, shouting, Then what about all the years we spent together? Mark, do you honestly dare to say you never had feelings for me? You couldn't help but let out a cynical laugh. Did we ever even have a real connection? Sure, I'll admit I liked you back then, but that's ancient history. The guy standing in front of you now just wants to stay as far away from you as humanly possible. But in true Sarah fashion, she completely filtered out the entire second half of your sentence. Instead, she just nodded, looking weirdly satisfied. As long as you admit that you liked me, that's enough for me. It was blatantly obvious she was just desperately trying to scrape back whatever tiny shred of ego she had left. You frowned, utterly exhausted by her antics. Look, stop throwing a tantrum. Just do us both a favor and don't contact me again. Let's just part ways like adults. With that, you grabbed your things and got ready to walk out, but then something suddenly crossed your mind. You paused, glancing back over your shoulder. Oh, by the way, where's your precious first love? Didn't Loverboy tag along with you today? For some inexplicable reason, a sharp wave of irritation hit Sarah right in the chest. She quickly brushed it off, muttering, He's busy right now. You just nodded casually. Well, you two should be tying the knot pretty soon, right? Don't forget to shoot me an invite when the big day comes. I'll make sure to drop by and hand you guys a fat wedding check. After all, it's the least the ex-husband can do. Tossing those final words over your shoulder, you strode right out of the coffee shop without giving her a second glance. Watching you walk away so effortlessly, Sarah gritted her teeth, her pride taking a massive hit, and sprinted after you. Gathering every ounce of her courage, she cried out, Mark, do you really have to be this cruel? The real reason I reached out today was just to ask. Can we still be friends? You let out a mocking, self-deprecating laugh. Friends? Please. I'm nowhere near qualified to be buddies with the great Miss Lee. It's honestly way better if we just pretend the other doesn't exist. Being total strangers sounds like a fantastic plan to me. Stung by your rejection, Sarah fired back defensively. Mark, even if we got divorced, you can't just erase the years we spent together. Even if we aren't husband and wife anymore, is being friends really that awful? If you ever run into any trouble down the road, you can always call me. You honestly couldn't be bothered to entertain her delusional nonsense for another second. Walking straight up to the front counter, you paid for your drink and walked out into the street. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut. The image of the man who used to treat her like absolute royalty flashed painfully through her mind. For a fleeting second, it looked like she actually regretted everything. But right at that moment, a waiter walked up with an awkward smile. Excuse me, miss? The gentleman who just left only paid for his own coffee. As for your cup, how would you like to pay? Sarah snapped her eyes open, staring at the poor waiter in sheer, unadulterated disbelief. He only paid for one cup? The second reality hit her, that tiny, fleeting sliver of regret she felt vanished into thin air. Oh, good. That's just great. Fine, Mark, you're really something else. I must have been completely blind back then. How on earth did I ever choose a cheap, unromantic blockhead like you to be my husband? Well, today I've finally seen your true colors, crystal clear. Now, she didn't feel regret, she only felt incredibly lucky. Lucky that she finally divorced a guy like Mark. Later that afternoon, you brought Chloe over to a ridiculously luxurious hotel in the East District. This was the ultra-exclusive venue for the afternoon's high-stakes auction. But what you absolutely didn't expect was bumping into the one guy you wanted to see the least, right there in the main lobby. Standing there, Tommy frowned at you like you were dirt on his shoe. Mark, what the hell are you doing here? Keeping an absolute poker face, you shot right back. If someone like you can be here, why can't I? Tommy froze for a split second before a look of pure disgust washed over his face. Are you seriously comparing yourself to me? Do you have any idea what my status is? And what exactly is yours? Feigning total confusion, you tilted your head. Oh? And what is my status? Please, tell me about yours, too. Tommy smirked, his eyes practically dripping with contempt. Honestly, this whole rich guy superiority trip was his absolute favorite game to play. So, with a ridiculously arrogant sigh, he spelled it out for you. You're nothing but a pathetic leech who only knows how to mooch off a woman's wealth. Me? I've successfully launched my own company overseas. You really think a loser like you even deserves to breathe the same air as me? You looked at him, genuinely curious. Wow, is opening a tiny company abroad really that big of a deal? Of course it is, Tommy sneered smugly. At the very least, a bottom feeder like you could never reach my level in your entire pathetic lifetime. Not just this lifetime, pal. Try the next lifetime, and the one after that. You will never, ever match me. Hearing his little rant, you just let out a massive sigh of relief. Oh, thank God. Seriously, thank God. I'll take your word for it, because I really, truly do not want to end up like you. Right at that exact moment, Sarah strolled over, catching the end of the argument. She stared at you, utterly bewildered. Mark? Why on earth are you here? You frowned, crossing your arms. Obviously, someone invited me. But before Sarah could even get a word out, Tommy burst into uncontrollable, mocking laughter. Are you clinically insane? Do you even know what kind of place this is? Who in their right mind would invite trash with your status? You're just a broke country bumpkin. If you ask me, you definitely sneaked in through the back door. Hearing Tommy's vicious accusations, Sarah's brows knitted together in deep concern. Mark, if you really did sneak in here, I strongly advise you to leave right this second. This is not the kind of place you can just waltz into. You rolled your eyes, losing all your patience. I literally just told you, someone invited me. You two really don't need to stress your pretty little heads over my business. Sarah was genuinely getting worked up now. Mark, I am strictly doing this for your own good. Why are you always so Mr. York? Sarah? What are you guys talking about? Chloe walked over, completely interrupting Sarah's lecture. Hearing Chloe's familiar voice, Sarah instantly froze. Realization hitting her like a truck, she snapped out of her daze. It's Martin York. I am so sorry. We completely mistook him for someone else. Stammering out the apology, she grabbed a deeply confused Tommy by the arm and dragged him away. After stumbling a few steps, Tommy furiously shook off Sarah's grip. Frowning fiercely, he snapped, "What the hell is wrong with you? Why did you just pull me away?" Sarah quickly explained, her voice hushed. "We got the wrong guy. That person's name is Martin York. He's not Mark." "That is literally impossible," Tommy barked, absolutely positive. "That guy is Mark. Do you really think I'd mistake him for someone else?" Sarah sighed helplessly, running a hand through her hair. "Look, I can't explain the whole crazy situation to you right now. Just remember this one thing. That guy is not Mark. He is the big boss of the Fanhua group. Martin York." Hearing that bombshell, Tommy's eyes nearly bugged out of his head. "Wait, what? I thought the boss of Fanhua was named Gu. Since when the hell is his last name York?" Having no other choice, Sarah quickly relayed the exact story Chloe had fed her earlier. "So, you see, it's mathematically impossible for him to be Mark." But despite the elaborate explanation, Tommy wasn't buying a single word of it. Convinced it was a scam, he boldly marched right back over to you. Plastering on a fake smile, Tommy drawled, "Mr. Martin York, sir. I am truly, deeply sorry about that little mix-up just now. I completely mistook you for someone else. You honestly couldn't even be bothered to look at the guy." Turning on your heel, you headed straight toward the auction hall doors. Watching you brush him off, Tommy viciously cursed you out in his head. Acting all high and mighty. "You pathetic country bumpkin. I am going to expose your fake ass right here and now." Smirking to himself, he eagerly followed right on your heels. "Mr. Martin," Tommy called out smoothly. "To properly express my apologies, I'd love to treat you to a lavish meal after the auction wraps up. Would you do me the great honor?" You continued to completely ignore his existence, casually turning to Chloe. "Come on, let's head inside." But right as you stepped up to the grand entrance, a massive security guard moved to block your path. "Excuse me, sir, I'll need to see your invitation." You just shook your head and replied casually, "I don't have one." Hearing that, the security guard's brow furrowed, his expression instantly turning dead serious. "Sir, I apologize, but if you cannot produce a valid invitation, I am going to have to ask you to step away from the premises." Seeing you get completely stonewalled by security, Tommy, who was lurking right behind you, was practically vibrating with excitement. Ha! I freaking knew it. He really is Mark, that pathetic, broke loser. Who the hell did he think he was fooling? Catching Tommy's wildly gloating expression out of the corner of her eye, Sarah frowned in deep dismay. But just as she opened her mouth to intervene, your calm voice cut through the tension. My last name is York. I've already informed your boss that I'd be coming. If you don't believe me, feel free to give him a call and ask. Instantly, all the color drained from the security guard's face. Wait, you are Mr. Martin York? Staring him down coolly, you replied, spot on, that's me. So, are you going to let me inside now? The guard nodded frantically. Yes, of course you can. The doors of the Han Palace Hotel are always open for Mr. York. He immediately made a deep, inviting gesture, respectfully taking 2 huge steps back. Honestly, you really couldn't blame the guy for sweating. The big boss had personally called just moments ago with a strict order, if Martin York arrives, no one, absolutely no one, is allowed to stand in his way. He was to be treated like the boss's own father. If anyone dared to offend Martin York, they could pack up their trash and get the hell out. As a lowly security guard, how could he ever dare to block him? Seeing Martin stroll right through the doors, Tommy, standing in the back, was completely dumbfounded. Wait, he just walked right in? Didn't they say you absolutely needed an official invitation to enter the inner hall? Next to him, Sarah's shock was just as intense. Who on earth is he? She whispered. She knew exactly how terrifying the background of the Han Palace Hotel really was. To be able to freely enter and exit with just a single sentence. Could the capital backing him actually rival the hotel itself? While Sarah was still reeling in total shock, Tommy swaggered up to the door, fully expecting to stroll right in. The guard instantly threw an arm out, blocking his path. Sir, please show your invitation letter. Tommy puffed out his chest with righteous indignation. I don't have one. The guard's face turned ice cold. I'm sorry. If you don't have an invitation, then you need to leave. Immediately, hearing this, Tommy absolutely lost his mind. Are you kidding me? Why can he go in without an invitation, but I can't? The guard replied with utter respect, Mr. Martin York is our ultimate VIP guest. Naturally, he is in a completely different league from ordinary people. He can go wherever he pleases. His presence here is our greatest honor. Seeing the guard treat Martin like royalty, Tommy's fragile ego completely shattered. He screamed at the guard, Bullshit! What kind of VIP is that loser? Open your damn eyes and look closely. My name is Tommy. I am the CEO of an international enterprise. If you dare treat me like this, believe it or not, I will have your boss fire you on the spot. The guard was completely unfazed by the tantrum. You are more than welcome to file a complaint against me, sir. But without an invitation letter, I must ask you to back off and leave immediately. Refusing to listen to reason, Tommy violently shoved forward, trying to force his way inside. You bunch of elitist snobs, I am not leaving. What the hell are you going to do about it? The guard let out a dark sneer. What am I going to do? A piece of trash like you actually dares to cause a scene at the Han Palace Hotel? Who the hell gave you the guts? Without missing a beat, the guard's hand flew out and slapped Tommy right across the face. Smack! Tommy's left cheek instantly swelled up like a balloon, 5 bright red finger marks clearly printed on his skin. Slapped completely silly, Tommy finally snapped back to reality, but instead of fighting back, he threw himself dramatically onto the floor. You actually dared to hit me. Compensation. You have to pay me compensation. If you don't pay up right now, I am never leaving. He started kicking and screaming on the floor, throwing a massive, embarrassing tantrum. Judging by his practiced rolling, this definitely wasn't his first time pulling a scam like this. Mortified, Sarah quickly rushed forward and shoved her invitation at the guard. I am so sorry. He's my friend. He came with me. Please excuse him. Staring down at Tommy rolling around in the dirt, a sickening wave of absolute disgust washed over Sarah. She never in a million years imagined that a grown man would act like a screeching toddler, rolling back and forth on the pavement, throwing a wild fit. She regretted everything. If she had known he'd act like this, she never would have brought him along. He was publicly humiliating her. How had she never noticed that Tommy was such a pathetic, spineless loser? This was the luxurious Han Palace Hotel. Did he seriously think he was crying on his own living room floor? The guard glanced at the invitation, his stern expression instantly softening. Ah, it's Miss Lee. Please, Step right inside. Sarah forced a stiff, awkward smile and quickened her pace to escape the embarrassment. But right at that moment, Tommy's furious, whiny roar echoed from behind. Sarah, order them to get on their knees and apologize to me right now. I am the CEO of an overseas enterprise. How dare they strike me? I am not letting them get away with this. I want smack. A furious Sarah whipped around and slapped Tommy across his other cheek. Her voice dropped into a dark, heavy whisper. Shut your damn mouth. Haven't you embarrassed me enough for one day? Tommy cradled his stinging face, a toxic flash of pure resentment burning in his eyes. Still, he finally swallowed his pride and shut up. Tucking his head down like a beaten dog, he obediently followed Sarah into the grand venue. Once inside, Sarah collapsed into a random seat, utterly exhausted. The crowd invited to tonight's auction were all untouchable heavyweights in the real estate world. There was no assigned seating here. Power dictated where you sat. Not long after, the sharp-dressed host stepped onto the stage. After a few brief pleasantries, he cut straight to the bloody chase. I believe every single one of you sitting here today has your eyes on one specific plot of land. So, without further ado, I announce this auction officially open. Starting bid, 50 million. Instantly, a sea of colored paddles shot into the air. The price began to climb at a terrifying speed. 60 million, 80 million. Sarah took a deep breath and thrust her paddle high. 100 million. She was here on a critical mission. She absolutely had to win this land, as the entire future of the Lee family's development depended on it. But in the blink of an eye, her desperate bid was completely crushed by the heavy hitters in the room. There was just no stopping it. The development potential for this single plot of land was simply too massive. Seeing Sarah relentlessly raising her paddle, Tommy started shifting anxiously in his seat. Sweating, he leaned in and tried to stop her. Sarah, listen. Why don't we just let it go, huh? That dirt isn't worth this insane price at all. Plus, you have to factor in the massive development costs. It's a guaranteed financial black hole. Tommy was sweating bullets, but not out of care for her. He was terrified. If Sarah blew all her cash on this stupid land, what would happen to his precious overseas company? He was heavily banking on leeching money out of her tonight. Sarah furrowed her brow and shot him a lethal glare. Securing this land is a strategic mandate handed down by the entire Lee family. How on earth could I just surrender just because you whimpered a few words in my ear? Getting publicly dressed down by Sarah, yet again, Tommy's face twisted with bitter displeasure. He didn't dare bark back too loudly. But the desperate thought of his failing company forced his mouth open again. I'm just looking out for your own good. Sarah, winning this land isn't going to save the Lee family. All it's going to do is drain a massive amount of extra investment. You won't even see a dime of profit for 3 to 5 years. There is a huge, terrifying risk of losing absolutely everything. Sarah stared straight ahead, her voice freezing cold. I hear what you're saying, Tommy, and I appreciate the sudden concern. But doing real business always involves serious risks. Besides, this strategy was locked in by the board ages ago. I don't have the authority to just walk away. In that short, tense exchange, the bidding had skyrocketed to 300 million. Sarah gritted her teeth so hard her jaw ached, and she yelled, 350 million. My. Miss Lee certainly has a lot of courage. Suddenly, a smooth, mocking voice chimed in from the side. When Sarah turned to see who had spoken, her heart leaped straight into her throat. Why the hell was Zack here? In the entire Riverdale Province, you could count on one hand the number of people who dared to arm wrestle the mighty Shen family. If Zack decided he wanted this land, it was game over for everyone else. Zack shot Sarah a deeply meaningful, predatory look, flashed a wicked grin, and shouted his bid. 500 million. Hearing that crushing number, the blood drained from Sarah's face. 500 million was just way too damn high. Even if she miraculously won the land at that price, she'd still have to pour mountains of cash into development. It was a complete bottomless pit. Given the Lee family's shaky financial situation, pulling together that kind of liquidity was literally impossible. Realizing this, Sarah let out a long, helpless sigh. It was over. She had to tap out. Zack slowly turned his head, a teasing, arrogant smirk playing on his lips. Ah, Miss Lee, why stop bidding so soon? It gets awfully lonely just talking to myself up here. Why don't you keep me company for just a little bit longer? He chuckled darkly. But right at that moment, a cold, razor-sharp voice sliced through the tension. 550 million. Zack aggressively whipped his head around. Sneering, he locked eyes with the newcomer. Victoria? Are you really trying to pick a fight with me, too? Just so you know, I have no intention of playing nice. Victoria looked at him with absolute, icy disdain. I don't need you to play nice, Zack. Let the deepest pockets win. Zack just shrugged, thoroughly entertained. Hey, having a beauty like you keep me company works for me, too. At least I won't be bored. Without missing a beat, he roared his next bid. 600 million. Hearing that monstrous number, Victoria's elegant eyebrows knit tightly together. She went silent for a tense moment, then suddenly turned her gaze to Sarah. How much liquid capital do you still have on hand? A sudden spark of realization flashed through Sarah's eyes. Wait, are you suggesting we jointly buy this land? Victoria gave a sharp nod. Exactly. If we look at the capital chains of our two families individually, neither of us has the firepower to take down the Shen family. So why not pool our resources and team up? Sarah's mind raced. After a quick calculation, she nodded firmly. A joint venture works for me. But let's be clear. We each bear our own risks. Not a problem, Victoria agreed without a second of hesitation. That was exactly what she had in mind anyway. If Sarah hadn't established that boundary, Victoria would have enforced it herself. Meanwhile, Tommy was quietly celebrating, thrilled that Sarah had finally backed down. But who the hell could have predicted this Victoria woman popping out of nowhere to ruin his plans? Panicking, he frantically opened his mouth to try and stop them. Sarah, are you crazy? Just let it go. The financial risk of a massive joint venture is way too high. It's not like you're going to die without this plot of land. Victoria tilted her head, looking at the sweating man with genuine curiosity. And who exactly is this? Hearing that, Tommy felt a surge of rage so violent he almost screamed in her face. This bitch actually didn't recognize him? He was the CEO of an overseas enterprise. Even before he left the country, his name held serious weight in the local business circles. How could a high society beauty like Victoria have never even heard of him? Sarah let out a tired sigh and made the introduction. His name is Tommy. He's a friend of mine. Victoria's eyes instantly darkened. Oh, so this is the absolute scum who abandoned you back then. How does he even have the nerve to show his face in this city? Word on the street is, you actually divorced your husband for this pathetic piece of trash? Tommy's face instantly turned a sickly shade of green. Trembling with rage, he couldn't stop himself from snapping at her. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Victoria stared him down with absolute, freezing contempt. It means exactly what it sounds like. Little man. If there's one thing in this world I truly despise, it's garbage like you. Back when Sarah was deathly ill, you tucked your tail and hid as far away as possible. But now that she's recovered, now you come wagging your tail right back to her, manipulating her into destroying her own marriage. Am I seriously hearing this right? Terrified that Sarah might finally piece together the dark truth of their past, Tommy frantically scrambled to save his own skin. Look, I had my reasons, okay? My hands were tied. Victoria let out an icy, mocking snort. She was ready to tear him apart on the spot, but Sarah coldly cut her off. Victoria, drop it. This is my personal life, and I don't need you trying to manage it. Victoria just smirked, throwing her hands up in mock surrender. Fair enough. Guess I'm just sticking my nose where it doesn't belong. Let's get back to the bidding. 800 million. Zack's face contorted into something downright ugly. Veins popping, he gritted his teeth and roared. 1 billion. Let's be real. Nobody's money just grows on trees. With the Yan and Lee families suddenly teaming up against him, he was getting backed into a corner, forced to burn hundreds of millions for absolutely nothing. Victoria and Sarah shared a heavy look before letting out a defeated sigh in perfect unison. The price had just gotten way too ridiculous. Reluctantly, they threw in the towel and gave up. Seeing the dead silence in the room, the auctioneer raised his wooden gavel high. 1 billion, going once. Do I hear any higher bids? Zack practically leaped out of his seat with a smug, victorious grin. Sure, he had to bleed out a few extra 100 million, but he was finally getting exactly what he wanted. In his head, he was already booking the VIP lounge for the after-party. A few brown-nosers who wanted to stay in the Shen family's good graces immediately swarmed him to kiss up. Huge congratulations, young Master Shen. The Shen family really is the undisputed king of Riverdale, dropping a cool billion without even blinking. Soaking in the shameless flattery of the crowd, Zack was completely on cloud 9, his ego inflating to the size of a blimp. Thanks for always having the Shen family's back, everyone. Drinks are on me tonight. I've already booked the spot. Sensing the hype, the auctioneer enthusiastically yelled, 1 billion, going thrice. Hold on a second. Right at the buzzer, a lazy, unbothered voice echoed through the hall. 1.5 billion. In a fraction of a second, the smug smirk on Zack's face, the untouchable air of Riverdale's wealthiest family shattered into pure ice. Pulling a last-second stunt like this wasn't just a bid. It was a brutal, public slap right across his face. The entire crowd whipped their heads around in absolute shock, staring dead at where you sat chilling in the front row. 1.5 billion. That was enough cash to buy up half the city block. But what truly made their jaws hit the floor was the fact that nobody had a clue who this bidder even was. This guy was a complete ghost. He had never once shown his face in Riverdale. Zack was practically foaming at the mouth with rage. I don't care who the hell you are, crossing me is a literal death wish. But despite the absolute fury boiling in his gut, there wasn't a damn thing he could do. 1.5 billion was just way out of his league. It completely smashed his maximum budget, leaving him helpless with no choice but to choke down a bitter defeat. Bang! The auctioneer's gavel slammed down like thunder. A massive congratulations to this gentleman for locking down the land at 1.5 billion. Suddenly, Victoria's eyes widened as she recognized you. She slowly turned to Sarah, absolutely dumbfounded. Wait, isn't that your ex-husband? Almost instantly, the shock in Victoria's eyes melted into a look of absolute, merciless mockery as she stared Sarah down. Dumping a top-tier, untouchable billionaire who had the guts to openly humiliate the Shen family all to shack up with a pathetic loser? Did Sarah get dropped on her head as a baby? Sarah's face darkened, tightly shaking her head. You're seeing things. That is definitely not my ex-husband. She didn't want to explain. Mostly because she couldn't even process the reality of it herself. Basking in the blinding spotlight and thousands of stunned stares, you calmly strolled up to the auction stage. Grabbing the microphone, you commanded the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I bet you're all dying to know who I am. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Martin York, hailing from the capital. It's a real pleasure to meet you all today. The capital? And his last name is York? Could he actually be? As your words echoed through the hall, the crowd's minds started racing with wild theories, but they were too terrified to actually believe it. The York family from the capital were absolute titans, untouchable gods of wealth. Why on earth would royalty like them show up in a tiny pond like Zhonghai City? You let out a low, confident chuckle. I'm guessing some of you have already connected the dots. That's right. I am a direct member of the York family, and I came down to Zhonghai City for one reason, and one reason only. I've got nothing to hide. The York family is rolling out a massive 30 billion investment right here in Zhonghai City. So, if any of you are sitting on some killer projects or want a piece of the York family pie, my door is always open. The moment those words dropped, the entire venue looked like they had just been struck by lightning. 30 billion? Even if they couldn't land the main prize, just picking up the leftover crumbs would be enough to make them filthy rich. The realization hit them like a truck, and the hall absolutely exploded with thunderous applause and deafening cheers. Tommy's eyes practically bulged out of his skull. Oh, hell yeah, I don't care what it takes. I am locking down a deal with this guy. If he gives me a contract, I'll happily call him my sugar daddy. Standing right beside him, Sarah looked like she'd just seen a ghost. He really was part of the legendary York family from the capital. A bitter wave of regret washed over her. God, if that man was actually Mark, how perfect would everything be? Meanwhile, Zack, who was ready to commit a murder 5 minutes ago, deflated faster than a punctured tire. Was this a joke? The Shen family might be big fish in Riverdale, but these elites from the capital could literally squash them like annoying bugs with a single slap. A sly smirk curled up on Victoria's lips, a greedy spark flashing in her eyes. The York family of the capital, huh? If I can wrap him around my finger, the title of Riverdale's wealthiest is definitely going to change hands. You smoothly stepped off the stage, soaking in the hungry, desperate stares of the crowd. Phase 1 was officially complete. Now, it was time to sit back and see just how desperate these people truly were. Watching her boss casually slide back into his seat, Chloe was completely paralyzed with shock. She always knew Martin York was loaded. The guy bought her company like he was buying a cup of coffee, but she hadn't expected this. She had seriously underestimated his absolute power. It's true what they say, poverty really does blind you to how the other half lives. Barely a second after you sat down, Victoria was already strutting over with pure, unadulterated confidence. She wasted absolutely zero time launching her trap. Well, hello there, young Master York. I'm Victoria Yan from the Yan family. It is an absolute honor to finally meet you." As she purred the words, she theatrically brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, shooting you a look that screamed trouble. She even tossed in a painfully obvious, seductive wink. Watching her completely throw herself at you from behind, Tommy ground his teeth in pure jealousy. For a second, the guy actually cursed his luck for not being born a gorgeous woman. Desperate, he aggressively nudged Sarah. "Hey, Sarah, aren't you gonna go over and introduce yourself?" Completely clueless about the slimy gears turning in Tommy's head, Sarah hesitated for a moment before nervously getting up and walking your way. But before she could even squeak out a word, Tommy shamelessly shoved his way in. "Young Master York, my name is Tommy. I am so sorry if I came off the wrong way earlier. A great man like you wouldn't hold a grudge against a small fry like me, right? You just happen to look exactly like an old buddy of mine." You didn't even give him the time of day, completely ghosting him as your eyes locked onto Sarah instead. Catching your gaze, Sarah awkwardly scrambled to speak. "Hello, young Master York. I am Sarah Lee from the Lee Group. I am so incredibly sorry for giving you such a bad experience earlier. If you have the time, I'd love to take you out for a meal. Would that be okay? Please, just consider it my formal apology." You slowly pulled your gaze away, your voice dripping with absolute ice. "I don't have the time." Sarah froze, feeling like she'd just been slapped. Wait, when Victoria walked up, he was all smiles and charm. So why the hell was he shooting her down so brutally the second it was her turn and in front of half the city, no less? Wasn't he deliberately humiliating her? Catching the mocking whispers and amused stares from the crowd, Sarah felt her face burn with deep, agonizing embarrassment. She wanted to find a crack in the floor and hide in it. "Sorry for bothering you," she quickly muttered, turning on her heel to escape. But right on cue, her phone started blaring. "What do you need?" she muttered. On the other end, her dad, Richard, barked out his orders like a drill sergeant. "Get your act together and come home tonight. Your mother and I have something to ask you." Sarah sighed, rubbing her temples. "Dad, whatever it is, just tell me over the phone. I'm drowning in work right now. I probably can't. No. You must come back tonight. If you don't walk through that door, don't bother ever coming back again." Richard brutally cut her off before immediately slamming the phone down in her ear. Noticing the color completely drained from Sarah's face, Tommy instantly played the concerned boyfriend. "Hey, babe, did something happen?" Sarah forced an apologetic smile. "My dad is looking for me. I absolutely have to go back to the house tonight, no excuses. So I can't have dinner with you." Tommy immediately put on his best, most magnanimous nice guy act. "Hey, it's totally okay. You go take care of your family first. We'll have plenty of opportunities later." Right at that exact second, your own phone buzzed in your pocket. Glancing at the caller ID, a heavy frown crept onto your face. "Excuse me for a second, folks. I need to step out and take a call," you said politely, smoothly dodging the crowd to find an empty corner. Back in the hall, Sarah stared daggers at your retreating back, a wild realization flashing across her face. Her dad had literally just hung up on her, and the exact moment he did, Martin's phone started ringing. Could it be? Could Martin actually be Mark, and her dad was calling him right now? Boom, she hit the nail right on the head. You swiped to answer, and Richard's booming, joyful voice instantly flooded the speaker. "Mark, my boy, what the heck have you been busy with lately? It feels like forever since you came by to see me and your mom. Get your butt over here tonight. Let's crack open a bottle and catch up, just the two of us." You rubbed the back of your neck, your voice tinged with guilt. "Dad, that might not be a good idea right now. Actually, Sarah and I already got divorced. You figured it was finally time to rip the Band-Aid off and tell the two elders. Otherwise, this whole mess was only going to get way more complicated." But unexpectedly, Richard didn't care at all. "So what if you're divorced? Your marriage drama is your own damn business. As long as you still acknowledge me as your dad, I still consider you my son-in-law." The truth was, Richard had known about the split for a while. The whole reason he called you and Sarah over was specifically to fix this mess. In his heart, he had long since treated you like his very own biological son. Hearing the fierce warmth in Richard's voice, and remembering how incredibly good they had been to you in the past, you were deeply moved. "Dad, you don't have to say that. Honestly, in my heart, you will always be my dad." A person's heart can't just turn stone cold. Over those 3 grueling years married to Sarah, you had completely warmed the hearts of everyone in the Lee family except for his ungrateful daughter, of course. Wiping away a stray tear, Richard let out a booming, joyful laugh. Good, good, good. It's a deal, then. I'll tell your mom to fire up the stove and cook up a few extra dishes for us. Don't you worry, it'll be a feast of all your absolute favorites. Click. He hung up the phone before you could even argue. You let out a long, heavy breath, just staring at the screen for a long time. Finally, you stepped forward and walked out of the auction house, leaving the chaos behind. Before dinner, you showed up at Richard's place just like you promised. The moment he spotted you, he practically sprinted over and pulled you into a massive bear hug. You little brat, it's been way too long. Were you trying to make this old man die from missing you? You gently patted his back, feeling a twinge of guilt. I'm so sorry, Dad. Things have just been crazy lately. I've been overwhelmed with everything. Richard already knew all about the divorce, so he didn't force you to explain. He just warmly guided you into the living room. Sarah's younger sister, Mia, was home on her school break. She bounded over, flashing a huge grin. Brother-in-law, you made it. Come on, let's go play some games. Without missing a beat, she grabbed your arm, trying to drag you away. Richard put on his stern dad face. Hold on, I need to talk to your brother-in-law first. Go entertain yourself for a bit. Mia pouted dramatically and let go, but the second her dad looked away, she shot you a cheeky wink. You couldn't help but smile and nod at her before turning your attention back to Richard. So, what did you want to talk about? Richard let out a heavy sigh, looking completely heartbroken. We heard everything about you and Sarah. It is entirely my and your mom's fault. We failed at raising her right, and now you are the one suffering because of it. You immediately shook your head. Dad, please don't say that. You can't force matters of the heart. Plus, this whole mess has absolutely nothing to do with you. Honestly, you were completely blown away by their kindness. You figured that once the divorce was finalized, the Lee family would just toss you to the curb. But to your absolute surprise, Sarah's mom, Barbara, walked over with tears in her eyes. How could we not be involved? It is our family that wronged you, Mark. We let you down. A wave of warmth hit your chest. Smiling softly, you said, Mom, Dad, you're making this sound way too tragic. Every single thing I did for Sarah, I did because I wanted to. You don't owe me any apologies. Hearing this, Richard hesitated before gently probing. Mark, honestly, the real reason we asked you to come over today. Is there any chance at all for you and Sarah to fix this? Your expression turned serious. Mom, Dad, honestly, I think it is better this way for both of us. Richard's shoulders slumped as he let out a long sigh. Never mind. Just forget I asked. That girl doesn't deserve you anyway. What is done is done. As long as you are still willing to see us as family, that is enough. You stepped right up and pulled them both into a tight hug. Are you kidding? You guys have always treated me like a son. How could I ever walk away from you? You will always be my mom and dad. But right at that heartwarming moment, Sarah walked through the front door. The second she spotted you, her face twisted in anger. Mark, what the hell are you doing at my parents' house? Richard, already on edge, snapped at her instantly. Why shouldn't he be here? This is Mark's home too. We invited him. Sarah crossed her arms, fuming. Mom, Dad, if you were having him over, why didn't you warn me? If I had known he was going to be here, I never would have come. Now everything is just incredibly awkward. Richard slammed his hand down, absolutely furious. Why do we need to report our guests to you? This is our house, not yours. Caught right in the crossfire, you felt entirely out of place. Needing an escape, you made up a quick excuse and slipped away to Mia's room. She was intensely focused on a mobile game, but the moment you walked in, she tossed her phone aside. Brother-in-law, get in here. Come play with me. You scratched your head, feeling a bit awkward. Mia, you know you don't have to call me brother-in-law anymore, right? Your sister and I are officially divorced. Mia didn't even blink, looking entirely unbothered. So what? I like calling you my brother-in-law. Brother-in-law. You let out a helpless laugh. All right, whatever makes you happy. Oh, by the way, remember that necklace you were obsessed with last time? I got it for you. Pulling out a sleek, delicate gift box, you handed it over. Mia's eyes went wide with pure excitement. Oh my gosh, brother-in-law, you are literally the best. I begged my sister to buy this for months, and she totally ignored me. You smiled warmly. I'm just glad you like it. Mia instantly clipped the necklace on, spinning around and admiring herself in the mirror. Thank you so much. I am absolutely in love with this. Then, she paused, giving you a curious look. Wait a second. This necklace costs a fortune. Sister took all your money, so how on earth did you afford this? You cleared your throat, explaining, well, it's just from the 3 million divorce settlement your sister gave me. Mia's face fell into a deep frown. 3 million? Are you kidding me? My sister is so ridiculously cheap. Brother-in-law, if you want my honest opinion, you should have dragged her to court. She is the one who messed up. You could have easily taken half her assets. Tell you what, I can hook you up with an elite lawyer right now. Without even waiting for an answer, she grabbed her phone, ready to dial. You quickly shot your hand out to stop her. Hey, little girl, that is your own flesh and blood. Are you out of your mind? Mia waved you off completely. Who cares if she is my biological sister? You are my real brother-in-law. You are just way too nice, Mark. If someone did that to me, I would absolutely ruin them. You could only laugh bitterly, shaking your head at her fierce loyalty. All right, let's drop it. Honestly, just knowing you have my back is more than enough. At that, Mia's eyes practically sparkled with mischief as a giggle escaped her lips. Well, since my amazing brother-in-law got me such an expensive present, it is only fair that I give you something in return. You raised an eyebrow, feigning total shock. What could a broke high school student possibly give me? I know exactly how much allowance your parents give you. Mia just let out a sly, wicked little laugh. Before you could even blink, she lunged forward and planted a massive kiss right on your cheek. Completely caught off guard, you completely froze, unable to stop her in time. Heart racing, you panicked. Girl, have you lost your mind? I am your brother-in-law. Mia just crossed her arms defiantly. So what? You and my sister are already divorced. Is it really a crime for me to give you a little kiss? You genuinely didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Please, don't joke around like that. You are still way too young. If anyone saw that, how are you ever going to find a decent boyfriend? Mia planted her hands firmly on her hips, puffing out her chest with pride. I am not a kid anymore. I am almost 18, and honestly, if I can't find a boyfriend, I just won't date. Worst case scenario, I will just marry you instead. Listening to her absolute nonsense, you just shook your head in defeat. You little brat, you are nothing but trouble. I already told you, I am your brother-in-law. But Mia utterly refused to back down. Pouting hard, she snapped back. Can you drop the brother-in-law act? You literally just said it yourself. You and my sister are completely done. Which means, you are a free man. Even if we did get hitched in the future, no one could say a damn thing. Since my idiot sister threw away a total catch, then just let me be the one to cherish you from now on. You frowned, putting on your best angry face. Mia, if you keep spouting this crazy nonsense, I am officially disowning you as my little sister. Seeing your stern expression, Mia finally backed off, offering a sheepish grin. Okay, I will stop. But just so you know, I am not giving up. Sooner or later, you are going to be mine. To prove her point, she even pumped her little fist in the air. You rubbed your temples, staring helplessly at the little schemer standing in front of you. Outside the door was your furious ex-wife. Inside was this relentless teenager. Your life had literally turned into a battlefield. Meanwhile, out in the living room, Sarah was getting absolutely destroyed. Richard was glaring daggers at her. Did someone drop you on your head as a baby? Mark is a once-in-a-lifetime guy. Why in God's name did you divorce him? Sarah kept her chin up, totally stubborn. I never even liked him. I only married him back then because you guys forced me into it. That was the last straw. Richard's rage boiled over, and with a sharp crack, he slapped Sarah hard across the face. Do you have zero conscience left? Mark poured his blood, sweat, and tears into this family and for you. Are you completely blind? Sarah gripped her burning cheek, staring at her dad in pure, unadulterated shock. He had never laid a hand on her, not once in her entire life. She couldn't believe his first time striking her was to defend an outsider. The betrayal stung, and her tears started streaming instantly. I saw what he did, but so what? I just do not love him. I refuse to live a lie and go against my own heart. Besides, I paid him a 3 million divorce settlement. It is not like he walked away empty-handed. Hearing those delusional words, Richard looked like he wanted to slap the living daylights out of her again. A measly 3 million? That doesn't even cover 1 month of this family's profits. And you threw away a perfect son-in-law over what? Loose change? You are literally going to put me in an early grave. You are going to march out there and remarry Mark this instant. And as for that precious first love of yours, you cut him off right now. Let me make this crystal clear. I will take my last breath before I accept anyone other than Mark as my son-in-law. No one else will ever step foot in this house. Sarah gritted her teeth, her eyes burning with sheer defiance. I am never remarrying him. I would rather die. Richard was physically shaking with rage. Good. Great. Then get out of my sight and go die. As of today, you are no longer my daughter. You want to play house with that Tommy guy so badly? The only way he ever gets my blessing is over my dead body. Richard's explosive ultimatum only fueled Sarah's burning rebellion. I don't care if you agree. I'm going to be with him no matter what. Richard grabbed his chest, his voice echoing in the room. How the hell did we raise such a naive, love-struck idiot? Did you conveniently forget that he was the one who threw you away and abandoned you? Sarah scrambled to defend her guy. He never abandoned me. He had his own tragic reasons for leaving, and he was hurting. Leaning heavily against the sofa, Richard pointed a shaking finger toward the door. Get out. Get out of my house right now. I am just going to pretend I never had a daughter. Panic struck as Barbara rushed over, frantically rubbing Richard's back, terrified his heart was going to give out from the sheer stress. Sarah, please. I am not trying to yell at you, but what on earth is wrong with Mark? Why did you have to destroy this marriage? Sarah shook her head, crying. Mom, there is nothing wrong with him. Mark is amazing. He really is. I was incredibly touched when he stayed by my side to take care of me. But gratitude is not love. I am totally clear on my feelings. Clear my ass, you complete idiot. Richard roared. The only thing clear to me right now is that you are the one who isn't good enough for Mark. Richard spat, entirely out of patience. Sarah took a shaky, deep breath to steady herself. Dad, if we have nothing else to discuss, I am leaving. Please, just take care of your health. With that, she spun on her heel and stormed out the front door. Right as it slammed shut, you quietly stepped out of Mia's bedroom. You had heard every single word, loud and clear. You were incredibly grateful for everything Mr. and Mrs. Lee had done for you, but some things were just never meant to be. You walked over to Richard and said, if there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave too. Hearing this, Richard quickly grabbed your arm. Mark, don't be in such a rush to leave. Stay and have a few drinks with Dad. You thought about it for a second and agreed. Even though you and Sarah were already divorced, the two elders had always treated you like family. You really didn't want to break their hearts. After throwing back a few drinks, Richard looked at you with a sly smile. Mark, your mom and I have already talked it over. Once Mia graduates from college, we're going to arrange for you two to get married. You just stared at Richard, completely and utterly dumbfounded. Please don't joke around like that, you said. How old is Mia again? Richard chuckled lightly. She's not a little kid anymore. She's 18. That's the perfect age to start dating. Worst case scenario, you two just date for a few years first. Then, when she graduates, you tie the knot. It's a flawless plan. In Richard's mind, he was absolutely dead set on being your father-in-law. Honestly, he didn't even care which daughter you married, he just wanted you in the family. You shook your head, completely helpless. Stop messing around. People will talk. Are you kidding me? Marrying my younger sister-in-law? If word got out, people would definitely point fingers and gossip. Richard looked entirely unbothered. Let them gossip all they want. I don't give a damn. Anyway, we live our own lives. We aren't living to put on a show for anyone else. Besides, for something like this, you should at least ask Mia for her permission, right? You can't just make such a hasty decision. Richard immediately held up a hand, cutting you off. Oh, don't you worry about that. I've already talked to Mia, and she is totally on board. The only issue here is you. You let out a heavy sigh. Honestly, I'm just not in the right headspace to even think about this kind of stuff lately. Let's just hold off for a while. Richard knew better than to push you too hard, so he just smiled warmly. That's fine. No rush at all. We can take our time. It wasn't until you drank Richard into a happy, sloppy stupor that you finally slipped out of the villa. You felt completely helpless, dealing with this overly enthusiastic father-in-law, but you knew deep down that he genuinely cared about you. Thinking about it, you couldn't help but feel a lingering warmth in your chest. Mark. Right at that moment, Sarah stepped right in front of you. Turns out, when she left the villa earlier, she hadn't actually gone far. She had been waiting for you at the front gate this entire time. You furrowed your brow and shot her a cold glance. What is it now? Do you need something from me? Sarah stared at you, her face dead serious. Listen, I don't care what my parents just said to you, but I demand that you reject all of it. Of course, I won't let you walk away empty-handed. Name your price. I will give you whatever amount of money you want. You let out a disdainful scoff. Wow. How incredibly generous of Miss Lee. Are you seriously that terrified I'm going to cling to you? Sarah frowned in disgust. Mark, you don't need to use that tone with me. I have already given you all the compensation you deserve. I don't owe you a single thing. So don't even think about using my family to play your little games. It is completely over between you and me. My heart belongs only to Tommy. You smiled and nodded slowly. Ah, yes, of course, Miss Lee is absolutely right. With my lowly status and your high and mighty position, how would I ever dare? Hearing this, Sarah's frown deepened. Mark, can you just speak like a normal person? Just stay away from my family from now on, and let go of those pathetic, unrealistic fantasies. You need to learn how to move on with your life. We are already divorced. You simply shrugged. Don't worry, Miss Lee. I will stay far, far away from you. Now, if there is nothing else, I'll be going. Watching you walk away, Sarah had a million questions swirling in her head, but she just couldn't bring herself to ask them. With a heavy sigh, she headed back to her own place. Meanwhile, Tommy had been anxiously waiting at home this whole time. As soon as she walked in, he rushed over. How did it go with your parents? Sarah collapsed onto the sofa, looking completely drained. Same as always, I guess. They actually want me to remarry Mark. Hearing this, Tommy hurried behind her and started rubbing her shoulders. Sarah instinctively pulled away slightly. Usually, Mark was the one who massaged her. Feeling Tommy's clumsy hands, for some strange reason, Mark's face flashed in her mind. Tommy asked nervously, Sarah, what's going through your head? You aren't actually thinking about taking that good-for-nothing back, are you? Are you crazy? Sarah shook her head firmly. You are the only one I love. Why on earth would I ever go back to him? Tommy clearly had zero clue how to give a massage. Within minutes, he somehow made Sarah's shoulders ache even more than before. Waving him off, she told Tommy to just go rest, and she dragged herself back to the master bedroom. The next morning, right after breakfast, Sarah and Tommy drove straight to Fanhua Group. Ever since Mark announced the $30 billion investment plan, they were desperate to get their hands on a piece of that massive pie. Chloe stared at the two of them, completely caught off guard. Sarah? What are you doing here? Sarah quickly pulled her best friend aside and whispered, Is Mr. York in his office right now? Chloe instantly understood what Sarah was after. As her bestie, she really wanted to help, but right now, her hands were tied. Mr. York is in his office, yes, but you are way too late. He is currently entertaining a massive VIP in there. Hearing that, alarm bells rang in Sarah's head. She urgently asked, Who's in there with him? Chloe lowered her voice. It is one of the top 3 conglomerates in South Riverdale, the CEO of Binfin Group. Sarah's heart dropped into her stomach. She definitely knew the Binfin Group. If their boss showed up in person, what chance did she possibly have? Desperate, she looked at her best friend with pleading eyes. Chloe, please, could you pull some strings and help me score a project? I promise I'll make it worth your while. Chloe offered a bitter smile. Sarah, you are giving me way too much credit. I'm literally just an assistant. I don't have the authority to hand out billion-dollar projects. Sarah refused to take no for an answer. Is there really no other way? Chloe bit her lip, looking genuinely helpless. Mr. York is right inside. Why don't you just go in and talk to him yourself? Seeing her friend's distress, Sarah didn't want to make things any harder for her. So, she and Tommy sat down to wait in the reception area. A little while later, the CEO of Binfin Group strutted out of the office, beaming from ear to ear. Seeing his massive smile, Sarah's heart sank even further. Did he really just secure Martin's investment? Judging by that smug look on his face, he definitely got what he came for. Why else would he be so thrilled? Sarah actually wanted to go up and say hello, but the man walked right past her like she didn't even exist. The massive gap in their social status was painfully obvious. Just then, Chloe stepped into the reception room. Sarah, you can go in now. Hearing this, Sarah took a massive, shaky breath. She led Tommy straight into Martin's office. At that exact moment, you were lounging on the sofa, staring at her with eyes colder than ice. Mrs. Lee, can I help you with something? Sarah immediately humbled herself. Young Master York, please, you flatter me. Just call me by my name, or Sarah is fine. You didn't even flinch. There's no need to play humble, Miss Lee. If you have something to say, spit it out. After a brief moment of hesitation, Sarah laid her cards on the table. Young Master York, I was hoping you could invest in our Lee Group. We don't need much. 1 billion is more than enough. You let out a dark chuckle. 1 billion really isn't much. But what exactly do you bring to the table? Sarah rushed to explain, The Lee Group will guarantee you on-time dividends every single year. You threw up a hand, shutting her down instantly. Does Miss Lee honestly think I would toss $1 billion at her family just for some pathetic little dividends? Sarah frowned, completely thrown off. Then what exactly is it that Mr. York wants? Your eyes slowly, shamelessly trailed up and down Sarah's body. If you want to get something, you have to give something in return. Miss Lee is a smart woman. It is a very simple concept. I shouldn't have to spell it out for you. Sarah instantly caught the filthy implication in your words. Men were all exactly the same. Martin York was only after her body. Disgust bubbled up inside her, but the sheer temptation of that $30 billion pool was just too overwhelming. She weighed her options for a second, gritted her teeth, and said, "Young Master York, I understand perfectly. As long as you agree to invest in my family's company, I will make sure you are completely satisfied." You nodded, a wicked smirk on your face. Miss Lee truly is a woman cut out for big business. Saying that, your gaze shifted over to Tommy, who was standing right behind her. "You there. Could I trouble you to step outside and give us some privacy? Do you mind?" Hearing this, Tommy completely lost his cool. "What exactly are you planning to do to Sarah?" You smiled, practically taunting him. "Well, obviously, I want to have a nice, deep, heart-to-heart with Miss Lee. We need to intimately understand one another. That's the only way to build a solid partnership, right?" Tommy wasn't an idiot. He clearly heard the dirty double meaning dripping from your words. He panicked and looked at Sarah. "Sarah, this guy is an absolute creep. You cannot agree to this." But just as expected, Sarah shot back in a freezing cold voice, "Tommy, wait outside. I am discussing serious business with young Master York. You being here is completely inappropriate." How could she not know what you were plotting? It was just a simple transaction, one willing buyer, one willing seller. Tommy secretly clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He let out an angry snort, spun on his heel, and stormed right out of the office. Once it was just the two of you alone in the room, Sarah took a deep, trembling breath. She closed her eyes, reached for her collar, and actually started stripping off her clothes. "Young Master York, it's just the two of us now. Do whatever you want with me." You casually sat there, waiting until she stripped down to nothing but her lace underwear, before laughing mockingly. "What exactly is Miss Lee doing? I just wanted you to stay behind so we could chat. Are you really in that much of a hurry to throw yourself at me?" Hearing that, Sarah's eyes snapped open in sheer shock. Sarah stared at you, absolutely shell-shocked. "You deliberately asked me to stay behind. Wasn't it for that kind of thing?" She stammered. You just let out a cold, mocking sneer. "It seems you've severely misunderstood me, Miss Lee." You fired back. "With my status and power, what kind of woman could I possibly not get?" You left the sentence hanging there, knowing full well that Sarah got the painfully obvious hint. In your eyes, Sarah was nothing more than a cheap, easily attainable commodity. Hearing your brutal rejection, she had no choice but to awkwardly pull her clothes back on, her face flushed with disappointment. Then, "What exactly does young Master York want me to do?" she asked softly. You smirked and casually pointed at the skimpy maid outfit resting on the table. "See that outfit right there? That's a little something I prepared especially for you." The moment her eyes landed on the fabric, Sarah's expression instantly drained of color. You want me to wear that kind of thing?" She gasped. You shrugged indifferently. "What, are you unwilling? If so, then just pretend I never brought it up. However, regarding that massive investment you were begging for just now, forget it. Take care, Miss Lee." Sarah furiously gritted her teeth, her pride completely shattered. "Fine, I'll wear it," she hissed. For the sake of saving the Lee family, she had absolutely no choice but to swallow her pride and compromise. Shaking with humiliation, Sarah slipped into the degrading maid outfit right in front of you. "Mr. York, are you satisfied now?" she asked bitterly. You just smiled, slowly shaking your head before waving her over. "Now, drop to your knees and crawl over here like a good little dog." Sarah was grinding her teeth so incredibly hard they sounded like they were about to shatter, but in the end, she swallowed her dignity and dropped to the floor. You smiled with cold indifference. "Miss Lee, you really are such a very obedient dog." Kneeling pathetically at your feet, Sarah's eyes were brimming with absolute humiliation. "Young Master York, do you have any other orders?" she asked, her voice trembling. You didn't say a single word. Instead, you reached into your desk drawer, pulled out a sleek whip you had prepared beforehand, and slowly walked toward her. Seeing the weapon, A terrifying wave of dread washed over Sarah. She rapidly started shaking her head in panic. No, please don't. But moments later, she couldn't help but let out agonizing, shameful cries of pain. Rolling your wrist, you looked down at her and said with dark satisfaction, "Very good, miss." Lee is indeed quite the resilient character. By now, Sarah's mind went completely numb. Being utterly humiliated like this by Martin York was a nightmare she could never have imagined, but having survived the ordeal, all she cared about now was securing her massive compensation. "I just hope young Master York keeps his word," she whispered weakly. You smiled and gave a firm nod. "Of course, $1 billion is absolutely nothing to me. I'm not the type to go back on my promises." When Sarah finally stumbled out of your office, Tommy was pacing in the hallway, burning with nervous anxiety. Seeing her disheveled state, Tommy immediately rushed up. "Sarah, are you okay?" he demanded. Sarah just kept her head down and slowly shook it. "Don't worry about it. He really didn't do anything to me," she lied softly. But catching sight of the violently torn stockings on her legs gave Tommy a sickening gut feeling. Sarah had been locked inside that room with you for a solid half hour. Looking at her wrecked clothing and completely shattered mental state, even a total idiot could guess exactly what she had just been put through. Plus, while standing out in the hallway, he had faintly picked up on some incredibly unseemly noises. Initially, he tried to convince himself he was just hearing things. But seeing Tommy's furiously deep frown right now, Sarah finally clicked onto what was running through his head. She quickly waved her hands in panic. "Tommy, things aren't what you think at all. He genuinely didn't do anything to me." It was only in this agonizing moment that she realized exactly why Martin had forced her to make those scandalous noises and deliberately ripped her stockings to shreds. The sick bastard had this meticulously planned from the very start. But it was too late. Tommy was already consumed by a state of blind, absolute rage. His own woman, someone he hadn't even gotten the chance to sleep with yet, had just been deeply violated by another man. The humiliating sting of being utterly cuckolded made him completely lose his damn mind. Letting out a furious roar, he charged straight back into your office, wildly swinging a heavy fist right at your face. But you just stood there perfectly still, not showing a single ounce of intention to dodge his pathetic attack. The moment he got close enough, you ruthlessly launched a devastating flying kick, sending Tommy rocketing across the entire room. You casually dusted yourself off, smiling down at his crumpled body. "Young Master Tommy, did you horribly misunderstand something here? Miss Lee and I truly didn't do anything. And honestly, even if something wild did happen between us, what the hell does that have to do with you?" Tommy fiercely gritted his teeth, his face twisted in agony. "She is my woman now. How could it possibly have nothing to do with me?" Hearing this dramatic claim, you slowly turned your gaze over to Sarah. "Mrs. Lee, is that actually true? Could it be that you guys are already secretly married? Or maybe you two were hooking up behind the scenes a long time ago?" Sarah's eyes widened in panic as she quickly denied it. "What? No, how is that even possible?" Even though she did have romantic feelings for Tommy, she still respected her own moral bottom line. "During my previous marriage, I never once did anything that crossed the line with Tommy," she insisted. You looked back at Tommy, mockingly throwing your hands up in feigned helplessness. "Well, young Master Tommy, you heard the lady yourself, miss. Lee just explicitly said she has absolutely nothing to do with you. And hey, even if you two really were romantically involved, so what? Miss Lee and I are fully consenting adults. What damn business is it of yours?" you scoffed. Tommy stared up in sheer, wide-eyed disbelief. "That's impossible. Sarah, he's lying to me, right? How could you possibly be willing to do that with him?" Sarah just sadly shook her head. "He really didn't force me to do anything. I did it all entirely of my own free will." Hearing this confession, Tommy froze like a deer in headlights. "So, you really slept with him?" Hearing him completely misinterpret her words in the worst way possible, Sarah furiously marched up and delivered a stinging slap straight across Tommy's face. "In your eyes, am I really that incredibly cheap of a person?" she screamed, her voice cracking. Tommy immediately lowered his head, clutching his stinging cheek. His eyes were practically swimming with toxic venom, but he still scrambled to explain himself. "Sarah, wait, I really didn't mean it like that." But Sarah completely iced him out. Without saying another word, she abruptly spun around and stormed out of the room, entirely refusing to even look back at him. She was thoroughly and completely disgusted with Tommy now. Thinking about the fact that she had actually filed for divorce from Mark just to end up with a miserable scumbag like Tommy, she couldn't help but feel a massive wave of regret. As he watched Sarah's silhouette disappear down the long hallway, a deeply vicious, murderous glint flashed in Tommy's eyes. Martin York, you actually dared to sleep with my woman. If you don't fully invest in my overseas company today, I swear to God, I will kill you. Hearing his empty threat, you couldn't help but look genuinely amused and a bit surprised. Oh, so you actually came here for the money. I guess I severely underestimated your shamelessness, you chuckled. Tommy finally dropped his pathetic nice guy act entirely. That's exactly right. I came precisely for this. You slept with my woman, so now you owe me. You must help me solve my financial problems. You looked down at him with pure, unfiltered disdain. And what if I say no? You challenged. Then I will absolutely kill you. Tommy roared at you like a furious, unhinged maniac. Just you? Try it? You fired back with a disdainful, mocking laugh. You casually waved your hand, immediately signaling for a few of your elite bodyguards to step inside. Boys, play around with him for a bit. And remember, whatever you do, don't go too easy on him. Hearing your brutal command, the massive, burly bodyguards began aggressively cracking their knuckles and cornering Tommy. Seeing the wall of muscle approaching, Tommy was completely dumbfounded. He started violently cursing in a panic. You despicable, cowardly bastard. If you actually have any guts, fight me one-on-one like a real man. You just shot him a look filled to the brim with utter, freezing contempt. What freaking era do you think we're living in? Still crying about one-on-one fights? You mocked lazily. The absolute second those words left your mouth, your bodyguards surged forward, ruthlessly unleashing a savage barrage of heavy punches and brutal kicks directly onto Tommy. How could a weakling like Tommy possibly be a match for trained professionals? In practically no time at all, he was mercilessly beaten down to the floor. Tommy desperately covered his bloody head with his trembling hands, helplessly enduring the violent storm of fists and heavy boots raining down on him from above. Spitting out blood, he gritted his teeth and desperately roared, "Martin York, how dare you fiercely humiliate me like this? Just you wait. I swear I will absolutely never let you off the hook for this." Annoyed, you quickly strode right up to the pathetic mess, violently grabbing him by his messy hair. You yanked his head right up to meet your gaze. Open your eyes and watch closely. Kid, this is what you call real humiliation. Without waiting for a response, you mercilessly dragged Tommy's thrashing body straight into the private executive bathroom. Then, with one powerful, merciless kick, you forcefully shoved Tommy's bruised face straight into the grimy toilet water. After letting him choke and thrash for a painfully long time, you delivered another brutal kick to his ribs, sending him flying out onto the tile floor. Casually washing your hands at the sink, you turned over to your bodyguards. Go find a genuinely good doctor to take a look at this garbage. I'll personally reimburse all his medical bills. And remember, make sure to get the absolute best doctor in all of Zhonghai City to treat him. Drying your hands, you finally turned your sharp gaze back down to Tommy. Oh, by the way, young Master Tommy, you suddenly remarked, if I remember correctly, your precious overseas company is currently teetering right on the verge of total bankruptcy, isn't it? Hearing this devastating secret, Tommy, who was still weakly struggling on the floor, froze entirely. He was absolutely shaken to his core. How the hell did you know about that? He sputtered. He literally hadn't breathed a single word of this to anyone. How could a monster like Martin York possibly know? You let out a chilling, arrogant sneer. Listen well, kid. As long as I want to know something, absolutely nothing in this entire world can be hidden from me. Tommy instantly panicked, the color draining from his beaten face. He desperately blurted out, Then what else do you know? You slowly turned and stared dead into his terrified eyes. Well, I also know that you're already legally married to someone else, right? At this exact moment, Tommy was sweating so profusely it looked like he just crawled out of a river. In this very second, he was consumed by true, agonizing terror. If Martin York leaked this bombshell news to Sarah, his entire master plan would be completely and utterly finished. Looking down at his pathetic, shivering state, you just found the whole ordeal incredibly boring. Relax. As for your messy little affairs, I couldn't care less. I'm really not the type to go gossiping like a schoolgirl behind people's backs. Hearing you unexpectedly say this, Tommy's violently racing heart finally managed to settle down a bit. But he wasn't a complete idiot. How could there possibly be any free lunches in this ruthless world? Suspicious, he couldn't help but pull his bruised face into a deep frown. Just spit it out, Tommy groaned out. What exactly do you want from me? You look down at him with a dark, playful glint in your eyes. It's simple. You just desperately need money, that's all. And as luck would have it, I am someone who lacks money the absolute least. Do you understand what I'm throwing at you here? Hearing this sudden offer, Tommy froze all over again. Wait, do you mean you're actually willing to step in and help me? He asked in disbelief. Well, that entirely depends on your performance from here on out, you chuckled lightly. A greedy, desperate light instantly returned to Tommy's swollen eyes. He practically crawled forward, quickly chasing the question. Tell me, what do you want me to do? My demand is incredibly simple, you stated smoothly. If you can somehow get Sarah to personally crawl back here and beg me for mercy, I can easily invest this exact number directly into your company. Saying this, you casually held up 5 fingers. Tommy visibly gasped in shock. $500 million? You just disappointedly shook your head. $500 million doesn't even count as spare pocket change to a man like me. I can comfortably invest $5 billion into your little operation. Tommy's eyes instantly widened, so huge they looked like massive brass bells. $5 billion? Are you completely insane? Or am I? $5 billion, just like that? Forget about just Zhonghai City, even looking at the entire country. That is an astronomically massive investment. You just sighed in feigned helplessness. Hey, believe it or don't believe it, your choice. You nonchalantly waved your hand, signaling the bodyguards to finally drag his broken body out of your sight. Having quietly watched this entire chaotic scene unfold, Chloe, who had been standing nearby the whole time, couldn't help but ask, Mr. York, are you seriously going to invest that ridiculous amount of money into a loser like Tommy? Looking over at the stunning beauty right beside you, you couldn't hold it back and just burst into loud, arrogant laughter. Come on, do you really think I'm a complete idiot? I'm just stringing him along and playing with a pathetic little dog. Hearing your sinister admission, Chloe playfully pouted her glossy cherry lips. Mr. York, you are way too wicked. Isn't that technically just scamming innocent people? You just smugly shook your head. Darling, I never even treated him as a human being in the first place. So how on earth could it possibly be considered scamming people? It wasn't until high noon that a brutally battered Tommy finally managed to stagger his way back to Sarah's luxury villa in an absolute daze. Seeing his horrifically pathetic, bruised-up state, Sarah was completely startled. Sarah rushed over, her eyes wide with panic. Tommy, oh my God, what happened to you? Snapping back to his senses, Tommy's face twisted in pure rage as he remembered the absolute humiliation in Martin's office that morning. He gritted his teeth, his voice dripping with venom. It was that bastard, Martin York. He had his goons beat the living daylights out of me, and then he actually shoved my head into a toilet to humiliate me. Sarah stood there, completely frozen in shock. She just couldn't wrap her head around Martin's ruthless behavior. They had only crossed paths twice, once at the airport and then at the auction. Sure, there was some friction, but nothing that justified this kind of blood feud level of revenge. Catching the sheer confusion on Sarah's face, Tommy's eyes narrowed. At the end of the day, this is entirely your fault, he spat coldly. Sarah's heart plummeted into her stomach. Because of me? She stammered, completely lost. Tommy started spinning his web of lies, delivering them like absolute gospel. Yeah, because I kept having to step up and defend you. That's why I ended up offending him over and over again. Why else would a guy like him harbor such insane hostility toward me? Hearing his pathetic excuses, Sarah fell dead silent. In her mind, she traced it all back to one twisted fact. Martin and her ex-husband Mark looked way too similar. She convinced herself that Tommy stepping on Martin's toes really was her burden to bear. Catching that exact guilt trip reflecting on Sarah's face, Tommy did a victory dance in his head. Pressing his advantage, he pleaded, Sarah, this time, you have to help me. No matter what. Having already swallowed all the blame, she looked at her supposed soulmate and nodded desperately. Just tell me, how do you need me to help? Deep down, Tommy was practically bursting with smug satisfaction. He didn't waste a single second. Could you go beg Martin for me? Please, just beg him to cut me some slack. He laid it on thick. I know that if you're the one pleading with him, he'll definitely help me out. Sarah just stared at him, her jaw practically hitting the floor. Wait, what did you just say? Martin York wants me to go beg him? But why? Internally, Tommy was scoffing. You've already been played by him, you idiot. He probably thinks you're great in bed and just wants to keep you around as his regular toy. Why else would he care? But reading the dark shift in Tommy's eyes, Sarah instantly knew he was still completely misunderstanding what had happened between her and Martin. Feeling entirely helpless, she tried to explain. Tommy, listen to me. It is not that I don't want to help you. It's that I literally can't. A shiver ran down her spine as the deeply humiliating scene from Martin's office flashed through her mind. There was absolutely no way she was ever stepping foot in that place again. Tommy, who thought he had victory in the bag, felt his face contort into an incredibly ugly scowl. Sarah, I am just asking for this one tiny little favor. Why won't you do this for me? Are you seriously going to sit back and destroy my life with your own two hands? Sarah was completely blindsided. What are you talking about? How am I destroying you? Tommy knew right then it was time to deploy his ultimate guilt trip. He dropped his gaze, looking utterly tormented. Look, since things have gotten this bad, I won't hide it from you anymore. The truth is, my overseas company is facing a massive operational crisis. I desperately need a massive cash injection to survive. Hearing this, Sarah felt a heavy knot form in her chest, nearly suffocating her, but she still forced the words out. Okay, just tell me, how much money do you need? I can try to lend it to you. Tommy just let out a pathetic scoff, shaking his head. And exactly how much can you lend me? Sarah, I need $5 billion right now. Do you have that kind of cash lying around? Sarah thought she was hallucinating. $5 billion. Are you out of your mind? The entire net worth of the Lee Group was barely $10 billion, yet Tommy was just casually demanding half of her family's empire in a single breath. She obviously didn't have anywhere near that amount, and even if she did, there was no way she'd risk bankrupting the entire Lee family just to bail him out. Suddenly, Tommy lunged forward like a desperate madman, fiercely gripping her hands. Sarah, please, I am begging you on my knees. You have to help me. Don't you love me? If you really do, now is the time to prove it. Sarah stared back at him, looking utterly lost and completely helpless. Of course I love you, Tommy. But where on earth am I supposed to magically pull $5 billion from? You don't have it, but Martin York definitely does. He flat out said it, as long as you go beg him, he'll invest the $5 billion into my company. All you have to do is swallow your pride, bow your head, and we get the money. It's a win-win, isn't it? Sarah let out a deeply bitter, broken laugh. Tommy, are you actually an idiot? That is $5 billion. No matter how insanely wealthy that man is, he is not just going to throw that kind of cash away. He is just playing mind games with you. Even if I got on my hands and knees and begged him, he would never invest in your mess. Tommy was practically frothing with desperation. He slammed straight down onto his knees, right in front of her. Sarah, look at me. I am literally begging you. Just do this one thing for my sake. Go beg him, just one more time, please. I mean, you've already slept with the guy once. Anyway, what does it matter if you spread your legs for him a second time? I promise, I won't even mind. The moment those words left his mouth, a fiery explosion of sheer rage ripped through Sarah. Smack, she swung her arm and delivered a brutal slap right across Tommy's face. You actually want me to go sleep with Martin? She physically could not believe what she was hearing. This was supposed to be her first love, her knight in shining armor. Even after Tommy had ruthlessly abandoned her in the past, she had still stupidly chosen to forgive him. But never in her wildest nightmares did she imagine that the man groveling before her would gladly pimp her out to another man just to save his own skin. In that shattering moment, Sarah felt her entire mental world crumble to absolute dust. Gripping his stinging cheek, Tommy glared back at her, his eyes oozing with raw contempt. Oh, give me a break. Didn't you already sleep with him today? What difference does one more round make? It's not like you're going to lose a piece of your soul over it. Like I said, I really don't care. Shut your damn mouth. Sarah screamed, her entire body trembling with unadulterated fury. I already explained this to you. Absolutely nothing happened between Martin and me. But how could a paranoid worm like Tommy ever believe that? He had heard the muffled screams echoing from the office. Not to mention he saw her walking out with torn stockings. You could beat him to death, and he still wouldn't buy her innocent act. Fueled by this toxic thought, he let out a harsh, mocking laugh. Oh, please, spare me the holy saint routine. You were moaning your lungs out in Martin's office earlier. Don't act like you don't know exactly what you were doing in there. Hearing that vile accusation, Sarah's vision quite literally went black. The sheer, suffocating anger almost made her pass out on the spot. Clinging to the edge of the sofa just to keep her balance, she stared at Tommy with soul-crushing disappointment. Is that really how you see me? Do you genuinely think I'm some cheap trash with absolutely no bottom line? Tommy just lowered his head, speaking with a disgusting level of seriousness. Look, Sarah, honestly, I don't even think you sleeping with him is a bad thing. As long as we secure the bag and hit our goal, you could sleep with him a few more times for all I care. Sarah burst into a chilling laugh, though hot tears were desperately pooling in her eyes. My God, Tommy, I was such a monumental fool. I was completely, utterly blind. To think I actually divorced Mark for a spineless parasite like you. I'm done. I cannot help you. Go find some other idiot to bail you out. Tommy's eyes bugged out in disbelief. Wait, what the hell do you mean? Are you seriously going to just stand there and watch me die? You preach about how much you love me. Is this your twisted version of love? You won't even do this one incredibly tiny favor for me. Sarah's fury reached a boiling point. That is exactly right. I am going to grab popcorn and watch you burn. Think whatever the hell you want. Get out of my house. Tommy instantly flipped, his own rage boiling over as he dropped the pathetic boyfriend act entirely. Pointing a trembling finger right at her face, he spat. You vicious piece of work. Stop pretending to be some pure, untouched saint. You've already spread your legs for him, haven't you? You're just a cheap woman who trades her body for corporate investments. I was a blind idiot to ever come back to you. Hearing his vile insults, Sarah flew into a towering, earth-shattering rage. Tommy, get the hell out of here right now. Get out of my house before I call the cops. I never, ever want to see your disgusting face again. This absolute leech had eaten her food, drained her money, and now had the audacity to call her a whore? How could a backstabbing, ungrateful parasite like this even exist? Without a second thought, Sarah viciously kicked him out of the villa, tossing his pathetic luggage out onto the pavement right after him. But the absolute second the front door slammed shut, dread washed over Tommy. He had just made a colossal mistake. Reality hit him like a freight train. Right now, Sarah was literally the only human being on Earth who could save him. If he completely burned this bridge, he was dead meat. Panicking, he frantically whipped out his phone and furiously typed a manipulative message. Sarah, please, I was so wrong. I never should have said those horrible things to you. I was just blinded by my own panic and anxiety, but I swear on my life, I truly do love you. The truth is, I was terrified your wealthy parents would look down on me. I just wanted to build a successful career before coming back to claim you. So, I took a desperate gamble and borrowed a massive sum from some shadowy loan sharks. If I can't pay them back, Sarah, they are literally going to kill me. Staring at Tommy's message, the delusional, love-struck fool inside Sarah's brain forcefully seized control once again. Her heart shattered. So, all of this tragedy was because he wanted to be worthy of me? That's the real reason Tommy turned into this desperate monster. Overwhelmed by a sudden flood of sweet, nostalgic memories of their romantic past, Sarah's icy resolve melted away. Like a total pushover, she quickly texted back, Honey, it isn't that I don't want to help you. It's just that this matter isn't as simple as you think. Reading her reply, Tommy let out a massive sigh of relief. He had her back on the hook. Instantly shifting gears, he deployed a masterclass in emotional manipulation, replying with calculated, fake nobility. Look, if it's too hard for you, then just forget it. Don't help me. This is my mess. Anyway, it has absolutely nothing to do with you, and I never should have dragged the woman I love into this nightmare. If it really comes down to it, I'll just let the loan sharks come for me. Honestly, just knowing you're safe, I have zero regrets. Reading her so-called lover's tragic sacrifice, Sarah physically couldn't handle the guilt. Tommy, please, don't worry. I never said I was abandoning you. How about this? Just give me a little more time, okay? I promise you, I will do absolutely everything in my power to find a way to fix this. But whether it works or not, I really can't guarantee it. On the other side of the screen, Tommy was smirking like a cartoon villain. His toxic tactic of playing the tragic martyr had worked flawlessly. Hiding his absolute glee, he typed back, It's okay, my love. Just knowing you have the intention to help is more than enough for me. Even if you completely fail, it doesn't matter. Dying at their hands is probably just my fate. Sarah's fragile heart ached with agonizing pain. She hammered on her keyboard. Stop it. Please don't say things like that. You know I don't believe in fate. Just trust me. I will definitely find a way to get you that money. And if begging Martin doesn't work, I will find another way. Sarah, you are way too good to me. Having you in my life is my greatest happiness. Thank you. Hitting send on that final, sugary sweet lie, Tommy's pathetic face lit up with a massive, victorious grin. His crisis temporarily averted, he immediately spun around and strutted straight toward a high-end nightclub to party. Meanwhile, Sarah was left pacing her living room, sweating bullets. If she was going to pull off a miracle, she had to contact the all-powerful Martin York immediately. Only one massive problem: she didn't even have his damn phone number. Left with no other choice, she dialed her best friend Chloe. "Hey Chloe, listen, I really need to treat your boss, Mr. York, to dinner. Is there any way you could pass that message along to him?" Hearing her desperate best friend's plea, Chloe sighed helplessly through the receiver. "Look, Mr. York never eats without side orders, Sarah. But I guess I can try asking him for you." Hanging up, Chloe marched right into your lavish CEO office and relayed Sarah's dinner invitation to you. Honestly, Chloe fully expected you to toss the request right in the trash, but to her absolute shock, you smirked and agreed on the spot. Chloe stared at you, eyes wide with absolute disbelief. Reading her stunned expression, you just sighed helplessly. "Hey, you don't need to look at me like that," you muttered. "Someone's offering a free dinner. Isn't it perfectly normal to say yes?" But Chloe wasn't having it. "But you rejected literally everyone else who asked you out. Why did you suddenly say yes to Sarah?" She had just voiced the biggest question burning in her mind. You offered a faint, calculated smile. "Naturally, I have my own plans. Just tell her I'll text her the time and place." Chloe nodded slowly. "Got it. I'll go let Sarah know right now." Whatever your real motives were, the boss had finally agreed to a dinner date. For Sarah, this was going to be the best news of the year. She could finally give her bestie a solid answer. But just as she reached for the door, you let out a sly smirk. "Oh, by the way, invite Victoria too." Chloe paused, completely clueless about the chaotic game you were plotting, but she nodded and slipped out of the office. You leaned back, calculating exactly how to turn this dinner into a masterpiece, when suddenly your phone buzzed. The caller ID flashed Mia. Frowning in confusion, you picked it up. "Mia, what's wrong?" Immediately, her frantic, trembling voice pierced through the speaker. "Brother-in-law, hurry up and save me. Someone is trying to cut to South Riverdale University Plaza, where Sarah's little sister, Mia, was currently trapped, completely surrounded by a gang of thugs." Trapped but furious, Mia stomped her foot, screaming at the arrogant jerk blocking her path. Shen, are you totally sick in the head? I've told you 1,000,000 times I do not like you. Do you seriously not understand human words?" Mike's face twisted into an ugly scowl. "Mia, my patience is running on fumes. You better not push your luck. The fact that I even look at you is a blessing. Don't be an ungrateful little brat." Mia clenched her fists, her eyes blazing. Shen, consider this a warning. I despise you, period. Pestering me won't change a thing. Besides, my boyfriend is going to be here any second. If you don't want him to beat you into a bloody pulp, you better get out of my way." Mike blinked, completely caught off guard. "Wait, what the hell did you just say? You have a boyfriend? Damn it, how did I not know about this? Who the hell is he?" Mia flipped her hair, looking at him with pure disgust. "That is none of your business. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Now move. Otherwise, don't cry when he knocks your teeth." But Mike just scoffed, not taking her threat seriously at all. After all, he was a direct descendant of the almighty Shen family of Riverdale Province. His older brother, Zack, was the untouchable future heir to the entire Shen empire. Riding on his brother's coattails for years, Mike had grown used to acting like an absolute tyrant. He wasn't scared of anyone. Smirking, he lunged forward, ready to drag Mia away by force when suddenly, a calm, unapologetic voice echoed across the plaza. "Sorry, I'm late." Mia's face lit up instantly. She dashed over with a massive smile, grabbing your arm and hugging it tight without a second thought. "Brother-in-law, you're finally here." Mike whipped his head around, glaring at you with venom in his eyes. "So, you're Mia's boyfriend?" "Boyfriend?" You blinked, utterly bewildered. "When the heck did I become her boyfriend?" But one look at Mia, who was frantically winking and pleading with her eyes, told you exactly what kind of mess she had dragged you into. This girl was a certified genius at making enemies for you. Meanwhile, Mike thought you two were just blatantly rubbing your romance in his face. A toxic wave of pure jealousy completely fried his brain. He pointed a shaking finger and roared, "I don't give a damn if he's your boyfriend or not. Unless you agree to date me right here, right now, absolutely nobody is leaving." Hearing this psycho logic, Mia couldn't hold back her curses. "Shen, you absolute bastard. Are you crazy? I just told you this is my boyfriend. Why the hell are you still harassing me? But Mike was too drunk on his own arrogance. Did she really think he'd back down just because of a few harsh words? Mia, don't play dumb with me. You think finding some random, pathetic scrub to act as your shield is gonna make me let you go? I'm taking you away today. And even if the gods themselves come down, it won't change a damn thing. Mia shrank back, genuinely terrified by Mike's deranged, ferocious expression. She gripped your sleeve, her knuckles turning white. Brother-in-law, she whispered, her voice trembling. How about you just leave first? Mike Shen is a total maniac. I'm so scared he'll do something crazy. You just smiled, gently patting her trembling shoulder. Hey, don't worry, you said softly. With me here, absolutely no one is going to hurt you. With that, you stepped past her, walking straight toward Mike. Seeing you approach, Mike scoffed, puffing out his chest. What? Coming over to kneel and beg for mercy? Let me tell you, scrub, it is way too late. You actually dared to touch my woman. Today, you're gonna bam. A fist connected with bone. Before Mike could finish his villain monologue, a devastating punch sent him flying backward, soaring completely through the air. His arrogant speech was instantly shut down. Crashing onto the pavement, Mike was completely stupefied. From childhood to this exact moment, other than his terrifying older brother, no one had ever dared to lay a finger on him. As the stinging pain snapped him back to reality, his shock morphed into explosive rage. You bastard! You actually dared to hit me? You are dead, he shrieked, scrambling up and screaming at his gang of lackeys. What the hell are you idiots standing around for? Get him, beat him to death. If anyone asks, I'll take the blame. But before his goons could even twitch, you shot forward like a fired arrow. In a blink, your hand clamped shut around Mike's throat, effortlessly hoisting him straight off the pavement. You want to die? You whispered. Mike's furious screaming cut off in a choked gasp. A primal, paralyzing fear of death instantly flooded his veins. He had never been manhandled like this in his entire privileged life. Cold sweat drenched his back as his legs kicked uselessly in the air. You actually dare treat me like this? He gasped, struggling to breathe. No matter who you are, you're totally screwed. Hurry up and let me go. You just let out a dark, chilling laugh. People who want me dead usually end up in very, very miserable situations, you murmured. And you won't be an exception. With that, your grip tightened like a steel vice. Now, Mike was plunging into pure panic. The crushing sensation of true suffocation set in, and he began to thrash violently. If you kill me, my brother definitely won't let you live. My brother is Zack Shen. He is the future heir of the Shen family. If you put me down right now, I'll pretend none of this happened. I'm only giving you this one chance. You better let me go. Zack Shen is his brother? That gave you a moment of pause. It was a funny coincidence, but honestly, not that surprising. For a punk to act this arrogantly in South Riverdale while carrying the surname Shen, you already figured he belonged to the main family. You just didn't expect him to be Zack's actual little brother. At the real estate auction the other day, Zack had practically bent over backward to show you goodwill. You certainly didn't expect his little brother to be 100 times more insufferable. Smirking at the irony, you uncurled your fingers and dropped Mike to the ground. You didn't drop him out of fear. You dropped him because a much more entertaining way to resolve this had just popped into your head. Mike hit the pavement, gasping desperately for air. Misreading the room completely, he thought he had successfully terrified you. Instantly, his arrogant ego flared right back up. What? Scared now? You piece of trash? You just offered an indifferent, icy smile. Since Zack is your big brother, this is incredibly easy to handle. Call him, right now. Tell him to get his ass over here immediately. Mike froze, utterly dumbfounded. Did he hear that right? He had just dropped the most feared name in Riverdale. And this lunatic was demanding that very person to show up? Was this scrub's brain completely broken? You crossed your arms, tapping your foot impatiently. Well, are you going to call him or not? Refusing to look weak in front of his lackeys, Mike gritted his teeth, yanked out his phone, and dialed Zack's number. While it rang, he couldn't stop throwing out pathetic taunts. Listen here, kid. Since you're begging for a death wish, I'm going to gladly grant it. Just you wait. 2 rings later, Zack's deeply irritated voice echoed through the speaker. What the hell is it this time? His useless little brother never accomplished a single productive thing. All he did was cause massive headaches. Zack was clearly out of patience. Mike quickly switched to a whining, victimized tone. Big bro, I'm getting bullied over at the university. This psycho almost beat me to death. Hearing that, Zack's protective fury immediately ignited. You idiot! Didn't you tell him you're Zack Shen's blood brother? Mike panicked, desperate to secure backup. I did, but he just arrogantly told me to call you. He says he wants you to personally come down here and grovel for forgiveness. Mike lied, dumping an entire barrel of gasoline onto the fire. Fine. You keep that dead man right there. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Nobody, and he meant nobody, was allowed to step on the Shen family name. Smirking, Mike hung up the phone and glared at you with pure malice. You're dead, kid. My brother is on his way. The second he gets here, I'm going to make you suffer every single consequence. You just let out a tired sigh, frowned, and raised your fist, smashing it brutally straight down onto the bridge of his nose. Why do you always have so much annoying nonsense to say? You muttered. Have you seriously not been beaten enough today? Blood gushing, Mike dropped his arrogant act entirely, curling into a ball and screaming in sheer agony. A few minutes later, tires screeched. Zack stormed into the plaza, his face twisted in homicidal rage. Who is it? Who the hell dares to lay a hand on Zack Shen's brother? You slowly turned around, your voice ice cold. I did. Zack finally locked eyes with the man standing over his brother. But the moment he recognized your face, his entire body froze stiff. The murderous fury vanished into thin air, instantly replaced by a look of sheer, trembling panic and desperate flattery. Young Master York? But Mike, blinded by his own bloody tears, didn't hear a word. He scrambled over to his brother, pointing a shaking finger at you. It's him, Zack. This bastard just bam. Mike was sent flying through the air a second time. Only this time, the one who knocked him out was Zack. Breathing heavily, Zack didn't even think that was enough to save their family's skin. He lunged forward, grabbed his little brother by the bloody collar, and delivered a devastating, resounding backhand slap. Shut your damn mouth, Zack roared, spit flying. If you dare breathe another word to him, I'll have someone cut your useless tongue out. Mike lay there, completely stupefied. He had rarely ever seen his brother this homicidally enraged, and the rage was aimed directly at him. Terrified out of his mind, Mike instantly clamped both hands over his bleeding mouth, not daring to make a single peep. Shaking off the adrenaline, Zack took a deep, shuddering breath. He scrambled over to your side, bowing his head nervously. Young Master York. Please, is there some kind of terrible misunderstanding here? Sweat dripped down Zack's forehead. He knew with absolute, terrifying clarity if he didn't handle this perfectly, the entire Shen Empire would be erased by tomorrow morning. The York family of the capital was an absolute titan. They could swallow the Shen family whole without even lifting a finger. Hell, countless people would happily crush the Shens just to score brownie points with the Yorks. You kept your face deadpan and said, whether this is a misunderstanding or not, you should probably ask your little brother. Zack snapped his head around, shooting a venomous glare at Mike. Spit it out. What the hell did you do? Mike wasn't completely brain dead. Seeing his high and mighty brother acting like a terrified servant, he instantly knew he had screwed up on a monumental scale. He was so paralyzed with fear that his jaw locked, and cold sweat dripped down his back. Taking in Mike's panicked reaction, and then glancing at the girl standing beside you, Zack pieced it all together. His blood boiled. He knew his useless brother way too well, a lazy, entitled brat who did nothing but cause trouble. Zack had always turned a blind eye because he was drowning in corporate work, but he never imagined this idiot would drag the entire family into a catastrophe of this magnitude. Driven by sheer panic and rage, Zack didn't waste another second. Smack. He delivered a brutal backhand straight across Mike's face. Get moving, kneel down and beg young Master York for forgiveness. If he isn't satisfied, you keep your knees on that floor until you drop dead. Mike was completely stunned. He stared at his brother in utter shock. Whoa, what did you just say? He had called his big brother here to back him up, not to serve him up on a silver platter. He never expected his own flesh and blood to throw him to the wolves. Zack didn't even bother explaining. Slap. Another heavy hit across Mike's cheek. I told you to apologize to young Master York. Are you deaf? Or do you just not understand plain English? The stinging pain finally woke Mike up to reality. It dawned on him that he had kicked a hornet's nest way too massive for his brother to shield him from. Terrified out of his mind, Mike scrambled over to you and practically threw himself to his knees. Young Master York, I'm so sorry. I messed up. Please, Be the bigger man and spare me. I'm practically garbage. Don't stoop to my level. He started slamming his forehead against the ground, kowtowing like his life depended on it. You didn't even give him a second glance. Instead, you casually shifted your gaze back to Zack. You let out a dry chuckle. Gotta say, this little brother of yours acts way more like a big-shot young master than you ever do. Zack forced a painfully awkward smile. This whole mess is entirely my brother's fault. There are $10 million on this card. I rushed over in a panic, so it's the only one I have on me. Please, consider it a tiny token of our deepest apologies. Young Master York, I beg you to take it. You gave a slight nod and plucked the card from his trembling hands. It was free money, so why the hell not? Besides, you knew damn well that if you rejected it, Zack would be sweating bullets for the rest of his life. Sure enough, the second the card left his fingers, Zack let out a massive sigh of relief. $10 million was absolute pocket change to him. If it meant squashing a lethal beef with Mark York, it was the bargain of the century. Breathing easier now, he roughly yanked the still groveling Mike to his feet. Young Master York, we'll get out of your hair now. Again, I am profoundly sorry for today's disrespect. With a final, deep bow, he dragged Mike away, fleeing the scene like their tails were on fire. Mia had been watching the entire spectacle unfold, her jaw practically glued to the floor. As soon as the two brothers were out of sight, she started clapping in pure awe. Oh my God, brother-in-law, you are seriously the coolest. You looked at her, shaking your head with a helpless smirk. You really are a little magnet for trouble. You know that? Are you hurt? Mia flashed a brilliant smile and shook her head. I'm totally fine. The way she looked at you now was burning with absolute unfiltered hero worship. Just then, a group of Mia's college friends nervously shuffled over. Mia, who is this guy? One of them whispered. Mia puffed out her chest with pride. This is my amazing brother-in-law. Well, technically, he just divorced my sister a little while ago, she added. At the word divorced, the girl's eyes instantly lit up like fireworks. Oh, really? So, is he single right now? Mia's internal alarm bells went off immediately. Sensing the blatant thirst, she stepped right in front of you and looped her arms tightly around yours. I know exactly what you girls are plotting, so back off. Don't even think about making a move. He's my boyfriend now. You stared at her, totally lost for words. Mia, stop making things up. Since when did I magically become your boyfriend? It was one thing for this wild girl to spout crazy talk at home, but claiming it in public was a whole new level of chaos. She really had zero filter. Mia just tilted her chin up proudly. I'm not making it up. It's going to happen sooner or later. Anyway, you could only sigh and shake your head at her stubbornness. You pulled out the bank card and casually handed it over to her. Here, take this. Just do me a favor, and don't blow all that cash on something stupid, got it? Mia snatched it with sparkling eyes. Ah, thank you, brother-in-law. I always knew you loved me the most. Oh, hey, it's almost noon. Since I'm rich now, let me treat you to lunch. You shook your head, gently turning her down. No need, I've got some business to handle this afternoon. But Mia clearly had zero intention of letting you escape that easily. She hugged your arm even tighter, refusing to budge. Nope, you absolutely have to eat with me today. If you don't, I'm going to be super mad. Feeling her soft curves pressing right against you, a massive wave of awkwardness hit you. You tried to gently pry her off. Come on, let go. People are staring. It really doesn't look good. But Mia dug her heels in, clinging to you like a stubborn koala. I am not letting go until you promise to have lunch with me, she demanded. Defeated, you let out a long sigh. All right, fine, I'll eat with you. Just let go of my arm already. Triumphant, Mia finally released you, flashing a terribly smug grin. She giggled. See? I knew my favorite brother-in-law couldn't say no to me. You rubbed your temples, looking utterly exasperated. Fine, but you have to agree to one condition first. Whatever happened today, keep it to yourself. Do not breathe a word of this to your sister yet. Mia nodded fiercely, a mischievous and slightly arrogant look crossing her face. Don't worry about that. She's officially my love rival now. Why would I ever hand free intel to the enemy? Honestly, it serves her right for always looking down on you. Let her rot in regret. Truth be told, she was practically buzzing with excitement at the thought. She was desperately looking forward to watching her arrogant sister turn completely green with regret the day she finally realized her ex-husband's terrifying true identity. You couldn't help but reach out and pinch Mia's cheek. You are absolute trouble, you know that. I give up. There's no winning with you. Victorious. Mia happily dragged you into a cozy restaurant right by the campus. She blatantly ordered the lovers combo for the two of you. Too exhausted to even argue, you just propped your chin up and stared out the window. But right in the middle of your meal, the universe decided to play a sick joke. Sarah and her slimy new catch, Tommy, strolled right through the doors. Spotting the two of you, Sarah immediately stomped over, her face twisted in absolute fury. Glaring daggers at her little sister, she snapped, "Mia, what the hell are you doing hanging out with him?" Mia just crossed her arms and pouted. "Well, if you get to parade around with your new guy, why can't I hang out with my brother-in-law?" Sarah's face flushed with anger. "Are you seriously comparing the two? You are still in college. You should be focusing on your studies, not running around with men. And more importantly, he is your brother-in-law." Mia didn't back down for a single second. "He stopped being my brother-in-law the second you threw him away. You guys got divorced, remember?" The harsh truth only made Sarah's blood boil even hotter. "I don't care if we're divorced. To you, he is still family, and always will be your brother-in-law. Out of all the damn men in this entire world, why do you have to be so obsessed with him?" Hearing that, Mia completely took the gloves off. "Because he's an incredible guy. Is it really that shocking that I'd pick him? Do you honestly think everyone is as blind as you are? You threw away a perfectly good husband just to crawl back to some trashy ex who ditched you first." That exact sentence was the match in the powder barrel for Sarah. Blinded by rage, Sarah raised her hand, aiming a vicious slap straight for Mia's face. You let out a dark, freezing laugh, your eyes completely devoid of any warmth. In a flash, you reached out and caught her wrist firmly in midair. "Sarah, back the hell off. That's enough." Humiliated and seething, Sarah spat, "Mark, I am disciplining my own sister. Keep your nose out of my family's business." You stared down at her with absolute disgust. "She might share your blood, but she isn't your damn puppet. As long as she still calls me her brother-in-law, I'm going to step in and protect her from your crazy tantrums." Those words only fueled Sarah's delusional anger. "Wow, Mark, just wow. I really thought I made things crystal clear when I dumped you. But I guess this was your pathetic little backup plan all along. You just can't stand the thought of being cut off from the Lee family wealth, can you? Are you really that desperate to leech off us?" Her sheer arrogance was so absurd that you actually burst out laughing. "Me? Leeching off the Lee family? Sarah, are you even listening to the garbage coming out of your mouth?" Sarah crossed her arms, radiating obnoxious confidence. "Oh, I know exactly what I'm saying. If you aren't desperately trying to cling to my family's money, then why are you still harassing my little sister?" Before you could even answer, Mia slammed her hands on the table and stood up. "This has absolutely nothing to do with him. I'm the one who dragged him out here today. And get this straight, Sarah, I am not a little kid anymore. I'm a grown woman. You want to run around with that piece of trash? Fine, that's your business. But who I decide to spend my time with is none of yours." Hearing Mia drop all respect and refuse to even call her sister, Sarah shot you a venomous glare. "Well, Mark, I definitely underestimated how manipulative you are. The only reason you keep stalking my family like a stray dog is because you want a payday. Cut the act and just name your price." You shook your head, genuinely repulsed by her. "Do you honestly believe throwing cash around solves every problem in the universe?" Hearing your mocking tone, Sarah subconsciously balled her fists. "Mark, for the sake of the fact that we used to be married, do not push my buttons." You let out a sarcastic, "Oh? It seems Miss Lee is planning to use her mighty wealth to crush me. I've got to admit, I'm actually looking forward to seeing you try." Seeing that you were completely unfazed by both her bribes and her threats, Sarah shook with sheer rage. "Mark, listen to me. I will never, ever give my blessing for the two of you to be together. Keep dreaming." But Mia simply stepped up and intertwined her fingers tightly with yours. Glaring at Sarah with open disgust, she scoffed. "You've got it completely backwards. I am the one relentlessly chasing him. Get this through your head, I couldn't care less about your blessing. I'm going to make him mine, period." Without waiting for a response, she yanked your hand and proudly marched you right out of the restaurant. Tommy, who had been enjoying the drama from the sidelines like a coward, quickly scurried over to do damage control. "Babe, don't let it get to you. Your sister is just in that rebellious phase where she thinks she knows everything. Once she grows up and matures, she'll realize you were just trying to protect her." Sarah scowled, her eyes locked on the door where the two of you had vanished. It was true that Mia was young and naive, but what about Mark? Was that terrifyingly calm man really just a pushover who didn't know his place? Meanwhile, even after storming out of the restaurant, Mia was still fuming with white-hot anger. What a total buzzkill. It was supposed to be a nice, quiet meal, but they just had to come and ruin it. You couldn't help but sigh, feeling a bit helpless about the whole mess. All right, let it go. It's getting pretty late. You should hurry on back to campus. Mia gave you this super reluctant puppy dog look. Fine, but seriously, brother-in-law. When you've got some free time, you absolutely have to come visit me at school. Promise? You just gave a gentle nod. You flashed a warm smile and nodded again, waving for her to get going. Meanwhile, back inside the restaurant, Sarah's meal was tasting like absolute ash. Why? Because Tommy wouldn't stop nagging her, desperately pushing her to beg Martin for another favor. Let's be real here, it was all about saving Tommy's precious Sound Overseas company. Cornered and completely helpless, Sarah had no choice but to cave in and agree. Now? They were just sitting on pins and needles, waiting for Martin to call. Finally, on the fourth agonizing day, her best friend Chloe blew up her phone. Sarah, Mr. York actually agreed to grab dinner with you. I'm sending you the address right now. Drop everything and go. Hearing those words, Sarah was instantly on cloud nine, completely thrilled beyond belief. Make no mistake, everything's success or total ruin hinged on this one single move. She had to do this for the Lee family, but mostly, she was doing it for her precious lover, Tommy. Not long after, she pulled up to the ultra-luxurious Cloud Top restaurant. But the second Sarah pushed open the door to the private room, she froze, completely dumbfounded. Martin York wasn't alone. There was someone else sitting right beside him, and of all people, it was Victoria, the exact same woman who had worked with her the other day. Sarah swallowed hard, completely awkward. It seems I came at a bad time. You just shook your head and casually waved her in. Actually, you came at the perfect time. Hearing that, Sarah had to bite her lip, force a stiff smile, and drag her feet into the room. She honestly thought Martin was going to have a private, intimate dinner with her. She never in a million years expected him to bring a +1. Standing there awkwardly on the sidelines, she felt like an absolute clown. Without missing a beat, you casually gestured for Sarah to take a seat. Miss Lee, relax. No need to be so incredibly tense. You're the host today, after all, so why so polite? Victoria chimed in, flashing a dazzling, perfectly crafted smile. Miss Lee, I really must thank you. I was actually planning to treat young Master York to a nice meal myself, but since you absolutely insisted on picking up the tab today, well, I definitely won't fight you for it. Trapped, Sarah could only give a stiff, humiliated nod. Oh, it's the least I could do, she muttered. Victoria suddenly turned back to you, eyes sparkling. Young Master York, where were we just now? Oh, right. You were just saying you wanted to drop 10 billion in the East District to build a massive new commercial zone, right? You calmly nodded. Correct. That's exactly what's on my mind. And you totally weren't bluffing. Otherwise, why would you have shelled out such an insane amount of cash to win that massive plot of land in the East District? Victoria leaned in closer, her voice smooth like honey. Young Master York, I honestly think your vision is absolutely brilliant. So, how about this? Why don't you hand this mega project over to our Yan family to manage? What do you say? I won't brag about much, but here in Zhonghai City, the Yan family name still commands a serious amount of weight and respect. You leave this heavy lifting to the Yan family, and I guarantee you won't have to stress over a single thing. You just took a sip of your drink and nodded. All right, then it's settled. I'm actually pretty comfortable leaving this in your family's hands. Hearing those words drop so casually, Sarah was completely petrified. A 10 billion project? Martin just tossed it over to Victoria like it was spare change? That was a full 10 billion. Was Martin seriously this wildly impulsive? Panic setting in, Sarah practically jumped out of her seat. Young Master York, actually, our Lee family can help out with this, too. A 10 billion investment, building a mega commercial zone wouldn't be a problem for us at all. Even after taking out labor and material costs, the profit margins would still be absolutely massive. This was exactly why she was sweating bullets right now. But you? You acted like you didn't even hear a peep, casually picking up your chopsticks and continuing to eat. Seeing you completely ice-cold and unmoved by Sarah's desperate pitch, Victoria couldn't suppress a triumphant little smirk. Young Master York, please, let me offer you a toast. She seized the golden opportunity while pouring your drink, leaning in so close, it looked like she couldn't wait to just melt her body right against yours. Watching this shameless display, Sarah sat there with her eyes practically shooting laser beams of pure, unadulterated fiery rage. It was painfully obvious Victoria was pulling a textbook honey trap. Remembering how she herself used to operate, Sarah was suddenly slammed by a massive wave of panic. She had absolutely no idea if you were actually going to fall for Victoria's little seduction game. After all, let's be honest, Victoria was easily just as drop-dead gorgeous as she was. But right at that tense moment, you slowly looked up, locking eyes with Sarah. "Oh, by the way, Miss Lee, you were the one who invited me out to dinner today. Did you actually need something from me?" Seeing her opening, Sarah hastily jumped in, her voice trembling slightly. "Young Master York? Actually, the real reason I invited you out today was specifically to show my deepest gratitude. I really want to thank you for your massive investment in our Lee family." You just let out a completely indifferent, icy little chuckle. "Miss Lee, let's be real, that 1 billion is absolutely nothing to me. It's pocket change. I'd be giving it away regardless. So, honestly, you really didn't need to go out of your way to thank me for that. Does Miss Lee have any other actual business to discuss?" Hearing the total lack of warmth in your voice, Sarah slowly hung her head in defeat. She hesitated, biting her lip before muttering, "No. Nothing else." Deep down, she was screaming, desperately wanting to beg for Tommy's lifeline. But with Victoria sitting right there, smirking, she physically couldn't bring herself to say the words. You just smiled and gave a slow nod. "Well, in that case, you can go ahead and step out to settle the bill. Miss Yan and I have some private business to discuss." Hearing you brutally issue a direct eviction order, Sarah's face instantly contorted, turning a shade of ugly, humiliated pale. Was this a joke? Did Martin really just drag her all the way out here, strictly to use her as a walking ATM? He and Victoria were the ones talking big business, so why in the world was she the one footing the bill? Logically, even if someone had to pay, it should totally be Victoria swiping her card. Catching her utterly soured expression, you tilted your head and asked in a mock-innocent tone, "What's wrong? Does Miss Lee still have some unresolved business?" You were just sitting back, waiting. You wanted to see exactly how long this proud woman could hold it all in. Truth be told, you had already seen right through her little scheme from a mile away. Finally cracking, Sarah gritted her teeth, her voice tinged with desperation. "Young Master York, you told Tommy before that if I personally came to beg on his behalf, you'd invest in him. Was that true? Look, I know 5 billion is literally nothing to you, but to him, it is absolutely life or death. If he doesn't secure that 5 billion, his entire company goes belly up." You just stared back with a perfectly blank, deadpan expression. "Miss Lee, I thought I made myself crystal clear. I just threw that out there as a joke. Who told you guys to actually take it seriously? Besides, whether his little company crashes and burns or not, what does that have to do with me? Since you care about this guy so much, why don't you just write him a check for 5 billion? Bam. Sarah was instantly struck totally speechless. Obviously, if she could just magically conjure up 5 billion out of thin air, she'd gladly save Tommy herself. But that was exactly the problem, wasn't it? She didn't have anywhere near that kind of cash. The Lee Group wasn't her personal piggy bank. Where on earth was she supposed to scrounge up 5 billion? You let out a harsh, totally disdainful sneer. "Miss Lee, do you honestly think you can just waltz in here and bag 5 billion with a few empty, pretty words? Do you actually take me for a total fool? Yes, 5 billion is absolute pocket change to me, but why in the hell should I give it to him? Do I owe that loser something?" Crushed beneath your words, Sarah finally chose to just keep her mouth shut. Because deep down, she knew you were 100% right. But cold, hard facts aside, she just desperately wanted to throw Tommy a lifeline this one last time. Clinging to her last shred of pride, she argued indignantly, "But, didn't you promise him? You literally said that as long as I came to beg you, you would invest 5 billion. You just let out a flat, utterly unimpressed, "Oh," leaning in with a dead serious face, you whispered, "Like I said, I was just talking trash." How could you possibly take something like that seriously? If we're really playing that game, I've also said I wanted to buy the entire planet. Does that mean I have to go out and literally buy the Earth today? You were way too exhausted to keep going in circles with this woman. You just turned your gaze to Victoria and flashed a cool smile. "Miss Yan, we're done here. Let's go." Victoria, picking up the cue instantly, nodded, cut to her firing up the engine of her sleek sports car. Before peeling out, Victoria deliberately threw a triumphant glance between you and the defeated Sarah. a wicked little smirk playing on her lips. As for you, you just coldly withdrew your gaze and hit the button to roll up the tinted window. Her wanting you to invest in Tommy's trash company? Give me a break. How is that ever going to happen? The more Sarah desperately cared about something, the more you were going to make damn sure she never, ever got it. Let's not forget she was the one who ruthlessly divorced you just so she could run off with Tommy. And now she had the sheer audacity to beg you to fund her new man? Did Sarah seriously think you were still that same pathetic, obedient lapdog from before? Watching your car disappear into the distance, Sarah felt a sickening pit form in her stomach. She was completely broken. But at this point, her hands were totally tied. She had zero options left. With trembling fingers, she pulled out her phone and shot Tommy a text. "I'm so sorry. I couldn't pull it off." After hitting send, she just stood there on the pavement, completely numb and hollowed out. Miles away, Tommy stared at his glowing screen, absolutely dumbfounded. How the hell could this happen? In that blinding moment of rage, he literally wanted to strangle Martin with his bare hands. But true to form, he instantly shifted all the blame right back onto Sarah. That useless woman, she definitely didn't try hard enough. Why didn't she just sleep with the guy? One night, and this whole nightmare would have been totally resolved. Damn it all to hell. Back in the sleek ride, Victoria batted her eyelashes and asked in a surprisingly shy, breathy voice, "So, young Master York, where are we heading now?" You didn't even look at her, keeping your eyes glued to the passing city lights. "Back to the company." Victoria blinked, genuinely taken aback. "Wait, young Master York, shouldn't we be heading to a hotel right about now?" In her calculating little mind, you casually dropping a $10 billion project on her lap was an obvious down payment for her body. She had already mentally prepared herself to give you the ultimate VIP treatment tonight. But this plot twist? You just let out a dry, indifferent chuckle. "Wait, you didn't honestly think I was actually interested in you like that, did you?" Stunned, Victoria finally seized the chance to ask the one question that had been burning a hole in her brain all night. "Young Master York, I really have to ask, why on earth did you hand such a massive, golden project over to me?" You gave a relaxed, easy smile. "I honestly didn't expect you to ask something so straightforward. Truth is, it doesn't make a single difference who I hand this project to. I only care about the final results." You paused, letting a playful smirk cross your face. "But if you really want to know, the reason I tossed this massive deal to you and your Yan family? I guess it's just because I find you a lot more pleasing to look at than the alternatives." Hearing that, Victoria's eyes gleamed as she suddenly shifted gears. "You know, young Master York, if I had to guess, you and Sarah must have some serious, messy history together, right? That caught your attention." You looked over, genuinely curious now. "Oh? And what exactly makes you say that?" Victoria tapped her chin, thinking carefully. "Come on, from the icy way you look at her, it's really not hard to tell. You two definitely go way back, and I'm betting. Your relationship used to be incredibly intimate. Am I right? Now that actually left you pretty surprised." You gave Victoria a skeptical look. "How exactly did you figure all this out?" Victoria grinned, looking pretty smug. "To be completely honest, Mr. York, I actually majored in psychology back in college." You tilted your head, genuinely curious. "Oh? Then why doesn't our top psychology student try guessing what's going through my mind right now?" Victoria froze, suddenly realizing she had crossed a line, and frantically shook her head. "Young Master York, please don't joke around like that. I could never presume to guess what you're thinking." You stared at her in silence for a long moment before finally giving a slow nod. "You're sharp. Actually, your guess was spot on. She and I definitely have a history together. When it came to your real identity, you didn't even bother trying to hide it anymore, fully aware that secrets like this never stay buried forever anyway. Given enough time, the fact that you were actually Mark was bound to become public knowledge. Whether the truth came out today or tomorrow didn't really matter. It was just that Sarah was completely clueless and had failed to connect the dots. Now, it was Victoria's turn to look absolutely stunned. "Wait, if that's true, then you're her ex-husband?" Even though she had a sneaking suspicion, hearing you confirm it out loud still left her totally shell-shocked. You just shrugged and nodded freely. "That's right. I'm the infamous ex-husband, also known as Mark." You honestly hadn't expected Victoria to be the very first person to see right through your disguise, but you weren't sweating it. Victoria was a highly intelligent woman. You fully trusted that she wouldn't just go running her mouth about who you really were. But if young Master York is actually Sarah's ex-husband, why not, take better care of her? When Victoria asked that, you could tell she already knew the real answer. She had definitely heard the juicy rumors about the bitter history between you and Sarah. Honestly, seeing Sarah's spectacular downfall right now didn't surprise Victoria in the slightest. Catching that look on her face, you let out a helpless sigh. You really shouldn't be such a gossip, you know? Victoria blushed, looking incredibly awkward. Young Master, I am so incredibly sorry. I really shouldn't have asked that. You waved it off with a totally nonchalant shrug. Hey, it's no big deal. I stopped caring about her a long time ago. It really is as simple as that. Hearing your cold truth, Victoria just smiled. Young Master York, if Sarah ever heard you say that, she'd probably be absolutely sick to her stomach with regret, wouldn't she? Right then, Victoria felt nothing but pure luck. She was so incredibly lucky to have figured out Martin's true identity this early in the game. It was just so mind-blowing that the almighty Martin York was actually Mark. Before all this, she had only ever heard of Mark as the Lee family's pathetic, totally useless live-in son-in-law. Back when Sarah tied the knot, Victoria had actually been sitting right there at the wedding. Who on earth could have predicted that the absolute underdog Mark was secretly the eldest young master of the ultra-powerful York family in the capital? You leaned back, completely indifferent. So what if she's sick with regret? Everyone has to pay the price for their own choices. She was so desperate to be with her precious knight in shining armor, so I just granted her little wish. Victoria beamed. Exactly. Don't you worry about a thing, young Master York. Your secret is totally safe with me. She couldn't hide the thrill in her voice. The fact that you were actually confiding in her proved you trusted her completely. Otherwise, you would have never spilled all this tea. Honestly, setting everything else aside, that level of trust alone was worth its weight in absolute gold. Meanwhile, Sarah had finally dragged herself back home, where Tommy was anxiously pacing around, waiting for her. Even though he already knew she had failed, Tommy still couldn't swallow the bitter pill of reality. Seeing his desperation, Sarah looked away, drowning in guilt. I'm so sorry. I really tried my best. Tommy forced a miserable, bitter expression. It's fine. This isn't your fault at all. We were both just completely played by him. Even though he was sweating bullets on the inside, panicking wouldn't save his skin now. He had already gotten the terrifying heads up. Those ruthless debt collectors from overseas had already touched down in the country. He was just desperately praying those monsters wouldn't track him down so fast. If they did, those guys were definitely going to skin him alive. But, as always, he completely underestimated just how dangerous they really were. The very next morning, this lethal crew kicked their way right up to Sarah's front door. Tommy was absolutely paralyzed with fear. He stammered, his eyes wide with sheer horror. How the hell did you guys find me here? He knew their brutal methods all too well. These guys weren't just thugs. They were a highly notorious, bloodthirsty mob from overseas. The body count they'd left behind over the years was literally off the charts. If he actually fell into their hands today, he was looking at a fate way worse than death. The towering mob boss glared down at him with sheer disgust. Well, Mr. Tommy, you really made us work to hunt you down. Tommy's face drained of all color, pure terror, gripping his throat. Mr. Smith, please, man, just give me a little more time. That money I owe you. I swear I'll figure out a way to pay every last cent back. He genuinely thought fleeing back to his home country would throw them off his scent. He never imagined they'd corner him like a rat anyway. But Smith just let out a cold, mocking sneer. Mr. Tommy, what kind of garbage are you spitting? We already gave you more than enough time. Or did you conveniently forget? Your wife and kid are still locked up in our hands. Tommy dropped to his knees, pleading, I'm begging you. Please don't hurt them. Smith flashed a ruthless, icy smile. Relax. We just want our cash, not their lives. As long as you play nice and hand over the money, your little family gets to keep breathing. Tommy panicked, his voice cracking. But I don't have that kind of cash right now. If I had it, I would have paid you off ages ago, I swear. Smith's tone instantly turned to pure ice. Well, if you're going to play poor, then things are about to get really ugly. You knew damn well when we spotted you that cash, you promised to pay us back double. Tommy's face looked like he was already staring at the Grim Reaper. Every single dime I had went straight into my company. I swear on my life, I really don't have it. Right then, Tommy's desperate brain was running on one single survival tactic. That was to stall. He just had to stall for as long as humanly possible. At the very least, he still had Sarah wrapped around his finger to use as a shield. But there was no way in hell Smith and his crew were going to let him buy another second. Mr. Tommy, my apologies. But if you're broke, then we're just going to have to do things the hard way. With that, Smith shot a dead-eyed glare at the massive thugs beside him. They cracked their knuckles and started advancing straight toward Tommy. Seeing his life flashing before his eyes, Tommy screamed, "Wait! Hold on a second. Even if my pockets are empty, my girlfriend is loaded. I can totally make her pay you back." Smith stopped, actually looking a bit thrown off. "Girlfriend? You're hiding out with a girlfriend over here? Wait. Aren't you already happily married?" Right in the middle of that very awkward question, the front door swung open, and Sarah walked right into the ambush. "Who the hell are you people? What are you doing inside our house?" Seeing a pack of menacing thugs crowding her living room, Sarah's body immediately went rigid with panic. Without skipping a beat, Tommy threw her right under the bus, pointing a shaking finger at her. "That's her. She's my girlfriend. She's totally loaded. You can just get the cash from her." Hearing this, Sarah stepped up, her voice fierce. "You are not welcome here. Get out of my house right now." Tommy scrambled toward her, practically crying. "Sarah, please, quick, you have to save me. They're loan sharks, and if I can't pay them back right this second, they're going to kill me." Sarah's fierce expression cracked into a deep, furious scowl. "You dragged these violent criminals into my home. Just exactly how much money do you owe them?" Smith chuckled, adjusting his collar. "Oh, not much. Just a little over 500 million. Sarah sucked in a sharp breath, glaring daggers at the mob boss. "Leave my house this instant. His debt. I will figure out a way to cover it." 500 million was an astronomical amount, sure, but she could still pull some strings. Worst case scenario, she could temporarily drain the 1 billion Martin had just invested to patch the hole. No matter what happened, she was blindly determined to keep her precious Tommy safe. Hearing that Sarah was actually willing to foot his massive bill, Tommy nearly collapsed with a massive sigh of relief. But Smith just let out a chilling laugh and shook his head. "Sweetheart, I think you misunderstood the math. That 500 million I mentioned, that's in US dollars. Converted to your local cash, you're looking at roughly 4 billion. Sarah's eyes nearly bulged out of her head. 4 billion? Are you insane? Where on earth am I supposed to dig up that kind of money? She honestly thought he only owed 500 million. She never in her wildest nightmares imagined Tommy was drowning in this deep of a hole. 4 billion, unless she literally liquidated the entire Lee group, gathering that mountain of cash was completely impossible. Tommy jumped in frantically. No, wait. Sarah, you totally have it. Don't you remember? If you add up all the assets of the Lee group, it easily clears 4 billion. Hearing the ultimate betrayal, Sarah snapped her head to glare fiercely at Tommy. Are you out of your damn mind? You're actually trying to sell out my family's entire company? The Lee group was the lifeblood and legacy of her entire family. There was absolutely zero chance she was burning her empire to the ground just to save Tommy's pathetic skin. And even if she completely lost her mind and tried, the board of directors would eat her alive. Tommy immediately went into overdrive, desperately trying to sweet-talk her. Sarah, listen to me. Right now you are the only one in the world who can save me. I promise, as long as you pull me out of this crisis, the second I make my big comeback, I will definitely pay you back double. Sarah just stared at him, firmly shaking her head. No, with this, I absolutely cannot help you. She wasn't a total idiot. If his debt was just the 500 million, she might have ruined herself trying to save him. But Tommy owed a full 4 billion. Where in God's name was she supposed to pull 4 billion out of thin air? Seeing her shut him down, Tommy's pathetic mask completely shattered, leaving something truly ugly behind. Sarah, are you seriously just going to stand there and watch me die? Sarah looked at the man she used to idolize, her face completely washed over with crushing disappointment. It finally clicked. She finally understood why Tommy had come running back to his home country. It turned out this absolute coward had caused a catastrophic mess overseas, and he just wanted a convenient little hiding spot to take refuge. And here she was, like a complete fool, thinking her knight had returned just for her. Disgusted with herself, Sarah crossed her arms and glared. You dug this grave yourself, so figure your own way out of it. Do not try to pin your garbage on me. The second those words left her mouth, the desperate, terrified Tommy suddenly cracked a very twisted smile. Well, Sarah, since you're going to be a heartless bitch, then don't blame me for playing dirty. Mr. Smith, you heard the lady. My pockets are empty, but she's got deep pockets. You can kill me right now, but you won't get a single red cent out of my corpse, but I have a guaranteed way to make sure you get every penny. Smith raised an eyebrow, genuinely intrigued. Oh? And exactly what kind of play do you have in mind? Tommy's sick smile only grew wider. Mr. Smith, you probably don't know this. This woman is the CEO of the Lee Group. And guess what? She's also the chairman's daughter. As long as we have her in our hands, you won't have to worry about your payout. Smith caught on to Tommy's drift. He frowned, asking, wait, are you suggesting we kidnap her, Tommy? Tommy just casually brushed it off. Mr. Smith, this is the only way you're seeing that money. I'm looking out for your best interests here. Hearing this, Smith actually started mulling it over. Sure, putting a bullet in Tommy would feel great, but blowing off steam doesn't pay the bills. The organization sent him here to collect, not just to throw a tantrum. It looked like playing along with this scumbag was his only option. Making up his mind, Smith turned around, his face completely deadpan. Miss Lee, I'm afraid you're coming with us. Sarah's eyes shot daggers at Tommy. You're actually kidnapping me for ransom. Tommy just rolled his eyes, looking absolutely disgusted. Sarah, you can't pin this on me. You're the one who refused to help out. Didn't you swear you loved me? You wouldn't even cough up a measly $4 billion. Don't you dare talk to me about love, you massive hypocrite. Smith let out a chilling chuckle. Miss Lee, please, make this easy. You're a gorgeous lady. I'd hate to ruin that pretty face of yours. Panicking, Sarah blurted out, I don't even know this guy. I am not his girlfriend. You've got the wrong girl. I have absolutely nothing to do with him. Tommy just flashed a sickeningly smug grin. Oh, Sarah, did you forget? You literally divorced your husband just to be with me. Are you really going to stand there and say we have zero history? Hearing that garbage, Sarah ground her teeth in pure fury. Tommy, I was so unbelievably blind. It hit her like a truck. Finally, the delusion was over. All these years, she had thrown her heart away on a complete monster. Tommy just shrugged, not caring at all. Look, Sarah, I'll be real with you. I never loved you, not even for a second. I only came back to use you, and honestly, you handed me the perfect opportunity on a silver platter. I figured after all this time, you would have moved on. I never expected you to still be helplessly clinging to me. Am I really that irresistible? So important you just couldn't let me go? Sarah's fists were clenched so hard her nails drew blood. Tommy, I was a fool back then, but I will never, ever feel anything for you again. Smith, totally over the drama, snapped impatiently, All right, wrap it up, you two. Just get in the van. He couldn't care less about this pathetic soap opera between Tommy and Sarah. He just wanted his cash. Sarah tried to put up a fight, but these guys were seasoned pros. A quick strike to the neck, and boom, Sarah was out cold. Just like that, Sarah was dragged off to some creepy manor. By the time she finally came to, it was pitch black outside. Someone was shaking her frantically. Sarah, wake up, groggy. She opened her eyes, and the second she saw Tommy's face, pure rage exploded in her chest. She opened her mouth to scream, but Tommy instantly clamped his hand over her lips. He hissed in a desperate whisper, Sarah, listen to me. Everything I said earlier, I just made it up to fool them. You shouldn't be dragged into this mess. You need to sneak out right now while they aren't looking. Once you're safe, call the cops. Just leave me behind. Hearing his trembling voice, Sarah actually felt her heart soften. No, I can't just leave you. If I run, what's going to happen to you? Tommy gave a tragic, broken smile. I'm a dead man either way. Just run. The truth is, I never stopped loving you, not once in all these years. I always wanted to come back for you, but I just couldn't. Honestly, getting to see your beautiful face one last time before I die, I have absolutely zero regrets. Now, hurry and go. Noticing the nasty bruises covering Tommy's body, Sarah felt a sharp ache in her chest. Tommy, you're badly hurt. He bravely shook his head. I'm fine. Forget about me and just go. I brought this on myself, and I refuse to drag you down with me. Hook, line, and sinker. Convinced this was the truth, Sarah firmly planted her feet. No, I am not leaving. If I leave, they're going to kill you. She had already lost Tommy once, 3 years ago. There was no way she was losing him again. Tommy put on an award-winning performance of panic. If you don't run, we're both going to die in here. But Sarah's eyes were locked in with blazing determination. I don't care. If I have to die with you, then so be it. Besides, my parents aren't just going to abandon me. They'll absolutely find a way to save us both. Pulling out her hidden phone, she hurriedly texted her dad, Richard. Just to make sure he believed it, she even recorded a quick, tearful video. But she completely missed the sinister smirk creeping onto Tommy's face in the background. Watching his little puppet do exactly what he wanted, Tommy made up a quick excuse and slipped into the next room. Facing the mob boss, he puffed out his chest with sheer arrogance. See, Mr. Smith? I told you my plan was foolproof. It's really that easy. Smith looked at Tommy with genuine surprise. Well, Tommy, it looks like I completely underestimated you. You see, after Sarah was knocked out that morning, Tommy pitched his master plan. At first, Smith called his bluff. Could any woman really be dumb enough to throw her life away for a scumbag like Tommy? But the results spoke for themselves. He hadn't underestimated Tommy, he had overestimated Sarah's brain cells. Tommy gave a slick, wicked smile. Mr. Smith, this is just child's play. That idiot Sarah is way too gullible. Honestly, she deserves to get robbed blind. He felt absolutely zero remorse. Not even a drop. I mean, whose fault was it that she was so unbelievably dense? If someone was going to exploit her, it might as well be him, right? But then, a brilliant, twisted idea struck Tommy. His smile turned downright evil. Mr. Smith, I actually have a bonus round for us. Sarah has a little sister. I know exactly where she lives, and I have photos right here. If your guys snatch the sister too, the Lee family will be completely backed into a corner. They'll pay anything. Smith rubbed his chin, nodding in agreement. I'll have my boys set it up. To secure that $4 billion payout, he was ready to cross any line. Snatching 2 girls was barely harder than snatching 1, so why the hell not? Meanwhile, back at the Lee family mansion, Richard was having a full-blown panic attack watching the ransom video. Sure, he was fiercely disappointed in Sarah and had practically disowned her, but blood is thicker than water. He couldn't just leave his own kid to die. But the kidnappers were demanding a staggering $4 billion. If he actually drained that much cash, the entire Lee empire would instantly declare bankruptcy. As Richard gripped his hair in despair, a horrifying realization hit him. He couldn't reach his second daughter, Mia, either. When Mia's phone finally rang back, a chilling, unfamiliar voice echoed through the speaker. Mr. Lee, please, take a deep breath. We just invited your lovely daughters over for a little vacation. Relax, as long as they play nice, we won't leave a scratch on them. Hearing that smug tone, Richard's fists shook with pure rage. You sick bastards. If you lay one finger on my girls, click. The line went dead before he could even finish his threat. Over at the hideout, Mia was trembling as she stared down a wall of terrifying men in black suits. Who the hell are you people? She never imagined she'd be a target. She kept to herself and never made enemies, let alone the kind that pull off mob kidnappings. These guys were seriously unhinged. Smith flashed a polite, but creepy smile. Miss Lee, there's no need to cry. We mean you no harm. We simply invited you for a little sleepover. Just behave yourself, and everything will go smoothly. Mia glared at him like a cornered tiger. You scumbags, let me go right now, or when my brother-in-law gets here, he is going to rip you apart. Smith literally laughed out loud at the threat. Waving his hand, he ordered his goons to toss Mia in the same cell as Sarah. Seeing Mia get shoved through the door, Sarah gasped in shock. Mia? Why did they take you too? Mia looked just as utterly bewildered. Sarah, what on earth is going on? Sarah let out a heavy sigh, her face full of guilt. Honestly, this is completely my fault. She then spilled the whole dramatic story of how they got played today. Hearing this, Mia saw red. So let me get this straight. We are both trapped here because of that absolute garbage fire, Tommy? Sarah frantically shook her head, defending him. No, Mia, you've got it all wrong. This has nothing to do with him. He's a victim in this too. Mia stared at her delusional, lovesick sister, her jaw hitting the floor. Are you out of your mind? We are literally being held hostage, and you're still defending him? Sarah tried to play peacemaker. Look, yes, the trouble followed him here, but he didn't do it on purpose. Plus, they beat him up and took him hostage too. Mia was practically foaming at the mouth. Who cares if they captured him? We didn't force that loser to borrow money. Why the hell are we the ones paying his ransom? She had always despised Tommy. And now she wanted to personally strangle the guy. Seeing her precious soulmate being trashed by her sister, Sarah snapped. Just shut up, okay? Complaining about it won't fix anything? She absolutely refused to let anyone drag Tommy's name. Mia rolled her eyes, totally giving up on her brain-dead sister. Waiting until the guards turned their backs, she stealthily dialed your number. Mark, my sister and I got kidnapped. Please, you have to come save us right now. Seeing Mia reach out to Mark of all people, Sarah scoffed in pure disgust. Why are you calling him right now? He's a total loser. What's he gonna do? Bore them to death? Mia completely ignored her toxic sister, quickly whispering their desperate situation into the phone. Just as you were about to demand their exact location, the line suddenly went dead. With no other choice, you immediately dialed Richard. On the other end, Richard sounded broken. Mark, I was just about to call you. Sarah and Mia have been taken. These psychos are demanding a 4 billion ransom to let them go. Tell me, what the hell do we do? You quickly comforted him. Don't panic. I already know about it. I'll figure out a way to handle the ransom. Hearing this, Richard asked, completely baffled. This isn't 400,000. It's a full 4 billion. It's the entire Lee family estate. What way could you possibly have? You didn't explain much. You just told him not to worry, and then you hung up the phone. You dialed Mia's number again. It rang for an agonizingly long time before someone finally answered. You said in a deep, icy voice, I don't care who you are. You guys are just after money. As long as you don't hurt them, I can give you the 4 billion. On the other end of the line, Smith couldn't help but feel suspicious. Why the hell should I believe you? Tommy had just told him, the Mark calling right now is just a nobody. How can an ordinary guy cough up 4 billion? You practically growled into the receiver. Listen to me very carefully. My name is Martin York. I am from the York family of the capital. You can go ask around. I have absolutely no reason to lie to you. I can give you the 4 billion, but if you dare hurt them, no matter where you run, I will hunt you down and kill you. You really hadn't wanted to expose your true identity right now, but since it concerned Mia's safety, you didn't dare take the risk. Upon learning exactly who you were, cold sweat beaded on Smith's forehead. He naturally knew all about the York family in the capital. As a top-tier family in the country, the immense power backing them went without saying. Even a ruthless overseas mob wouldn't dare provoke them. He never expected to run into someone like you here in Shanghai City. Tommy, standing off to the side, also looked completely shocked. It really is him. He had guessed a long time ago that Martin and Mark were the exact same person. He just never had the proof. Plus, Martin's status was truly extraordinary. How would he ever dare investigate? But he couldn't help but feel incredibly confused. As the sole heir to the York family in the capital, why did he become the Lee family's lowly live-in son-in-law back then? Just as he was struggling to figure it out, Smith delivered a vicious kick right into his gut. You bastard! Didn't you say he was just an ordinary guy? If he had known that kidnapping Sarah and Mia would offend the legendary York family, he definitely wouldn't have touched them. Although this would indeed get them a massive payday, they absolutely didn't want to be targeted by the Yorks for the rest of their short lives. Tommy stammered, his face covered in sweat. I didn't know either. Smith caught his breath and hurriedly sucked up to you on the phone. Young Master York. Hello, I think this is all just a huge misunderstanding. I hope you aren't too angry. Your tone didn't fluctuate in the slightest. You said with chilling finality. I don't care if it's a misunderstanding. In short, if anything happens to them, I guarantee you will absolutely not leave this country alive. Smith hastily said, Young Master York, you can rest completely assured on that point. We only seek wealth, not lives. You couldn't be bothered talking nonsense with a thug. You said directly, tell me your address. I'll come over right now. Hearing this, Smith couldn't help but hesitate. He really didn't know if he should tell you where they were hiding. Given the sheer power of a York family young master, the moment they exposed their address, they might be surrounded by countless heavy hitters in the underworld. He didn't even dare imagine what the brutal outcome would be. You said with heavy disdain, What? Are you scared? Smith had no choice but to say, Young Master York, telling you the address is fine, but you must come alone. If we find out that your people came with you, we really can't guarantee what might happen. No problem. I'll come alone. You knew exactly what they were thinking. You didn't want to drag this dangerous situation out either, so you drove out all by yourself to the address Smith provided. Seeing that you actually showed up alone, Smith finally breathed a massive sigh of relief. He said, practically beaming, Young Master York, you truly are a man who keeps his promises. You said coldly, cut the crap. Where are they? Smith quickly led the way, taking you deep inside the rundown manor. Seeing that you actually came, Mia immediately ran excitedly to your side. Brother-in-law, you really came to save me. You looked at her with genuine concern. Are you all right? Did they do anything to you? Mia said proudly, Don't worry, brother-in-law. With you here, they wouldn't dare do a thing to me. Sarah, standing nearby, frowned harshly upon hearing this. Mark? What on earth are you doing here? You said with a deadpan face. Naturally, I'm here to get you guys out. Did you think I came to have a tea party? Sarah looked completely contemptuous. Get us out? Just you? What exactly are you going to use to get us out? Who do you think you are? She absolutely didn't believe a loser like you could save them. These kidnappers were all ruthless outlaws, and every single one was highly skilled. Even if Mark had 3 heads and 6 arms, it would be utterly useless. You looked at her in pure irritation. Can you just shut your mouth for 1 second? If Mia hadn't been here, you couldn't have cared less whether Sarah lived or died. Hearing this, Sarah was instantly furious. Mark, what kind of attitude is that? You couldn't be bothered dealing with her entitlement. What does my attitude have to do with you? Who do you even think you are? Standing off to the side, Smith awkwardly watched the two of you argue. He looked at Sarah in utter confusion. Miss Lee, may I ask if the young Master York standing right in front of you is the one from the York family in the capital? He was now somewhat doubting your identity. If the man standing before him really was the all-powerful young master of the York family, then Sarah's disrespectful attitude, he just couldn't understand it. Sarah was slightly taken aback. What? What did you just say? You said he is Martin York? How is that even possible? You looked at the woman in front of you with total exhaustion. Sarah, oh Sarah, you are truly an incredible idiot. You still can't see it, even now. Hearing this, Sarah was enraged. What did you say? You dare call me an idiot? You looked at her disdainfully. Well, are you not? Sarah finally realized the gravity of the situation. So, Mark really is Martin York. She was instantly stunned, frozen in place. An idiot. She really was a complete idiot. She should have guessed the truth a long, long time ago. But why did she always choose to just ignore the signs? Smith stepped up and asked eagerly, May I ask if you brought the money? He didn't care to know what kind of messy relationship you and Sarah actually had. He just wanted to get the massive payday that belonged to him. You turned to look at Smith and said coldly, I can give you the money, but you must tell me exactly who told you to do this. When Sarah heard Smith's next words, her blood ran cold, and she instantly froze on the spot. Meanwhile, Tommy's face turned completely green with rage. He never expected that Smith, who was his loyal partner just a moment ago, would immediately turn around and sell him out. Smith just smiled greedily at you. Young Master York, we are only in it for the cash. All of this was Tommy's big idea. We really didn't want to hurt Miss Lee and her sister, either. You showed absolutely no surprise at this pathetic betrayal. You directly pulled out a black card and handed it to Smith. There is 4 billion loaded on this card. You guys can verify it. I'm taking them with me right now. Seeing this, Smith snatched the card excitedly. He said happily, Young Master York is indeed a very straightforward man. You can rest assured, we only want the money. Unless absolutely necessary, we'd never harm the innocent. You didn't want to waste another breath on this scum. You said with a deeply cold face, Can we leave now? Smith nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course. Boys, release the 2 ladies. Immediately, 2 burly thugs came from behind and untied the thick ropes binding Sarah and Mia. Mia quickly scrambled over to your side. Even though the little girl had acted tough this whole time, it was only now that she felt the true, lingering terror of the situation. You comforted her in a soft, reassuring voice. It's okay now. It's all over. Smith signaled his men with a sharp look. His men understood immediately. They roughly tied up Tommy and threw him hard right at your feet. Then Smith smiled at you and said, Young Master York, I'm a man who likes making powerful friends. Since you are so straightforward, I'll happily hand this piece of trash over to you to deal with. You nodded slightly, keeping your mouth shut. At this time, Sarah slowly walked up to you, staring at you with piercing intensity. Should I call you Mark? Or Martin York? You looked at her with a completely blank expression. Suit yourself. Hearing this, Sarah said somewhat sorrowfully, Mark. Oh wait, I suppose I should call you Young Master Martin now. Do you really have nothing to say to me? You said coldly. Between us, is there even anything left to say? Sarah questioned loudly, her voice breaking. Martin, Do you not feel the slightest bit of guilt towards me in your heart? You were clearly the eldest young master of the legendary York family, yet you insisted on pretending to be some broke loser just to marry me. You lied to my face for 3 whole years. Did you take me for a complete idiot? You looked at her with utter disdain. Sarah, hearing the word guilt come out of your mouth, I have to admit, I'm pretty surprised myself. Whether I'm Mark or Martin, it's just a name, but how I treated you over these past 3 years. Do you really have absolutely no idea in your heart? Sarah choked back a bitter sob. I know how you felt about me, but you treated me like a monkey to be played with. You never actually trusted me, did you? You looked at her with an absolute poker face. Regarding my identity, I was indeed wrong. But I never maliciously intended to hide it from you. It was just that I never found the right opportunity to tell you. Furthermore, you never bothered to ask me, either. To you, I was just a convenient substitute for someone else. Sarah still found the harsh truth incredibly hard to accept. Excuses. These are all just your sick excuses, she yelled. You clearly did it on purpose. You just wanted to see me make a total fool of myself. You just didn't want me to know how rich you were. You looked entirely unbothered by her tantrum. Think whatever you want, Sarah. We're divorced anyway. Hearing this, Sarah looked at you, acting incredibly wronged. Martin, you've disappointed me too much. You just let out a cold, mocking laugh. You've let me down more times than I can count. Why act like you've got the moral high ground now? If you'd known my real identity back then, you still would have divorced me, wouldn't you? Hearing those words, Sarah immediately fell dead silent. He hit the nail on the head. She knew deep down that even if she had discovered Mark's true identity earlier, she still would have dumped him. It just might not have been quite as fast, because her heart only ever belonged to Tommy. You shot her a thoroughly exhausted look. Look, cut the victim act. We were married for 3 years, and I don't owe you a single thing. We're divorced, so let's just go our separate ways. Besides, I've been more than decent to you, haven't I? With that said, you slowly turned your icy gaze toward Tommy. As for you, it looks like you owe me big time. Feeling your piercing glare, Tommy started to panic. What are you gonna do? I'm warning you, don't try anything crazy. What am I gonna do? You let out a dark, chilling laugh, and then bam! You buried your fist right into his smug face. You forced me to cough up 4 billion to save a piece of human garbage like you, and you actually have the nerve to ask what I'm going to do? I'm just collecting a little interest first. As you spoke, you rained brutal punch after punch down on Tommy's pathetic body. Sarah finally snapped out of her shock. She frantically screamed, Martin York, stop it right this second. I forbid you from hurting him. Hearing her scream, you looked at Sarah in pure disbelief. Do you even hear the words coming out of your mouth right now? After everything that had just gone down, you couldn't fathom how she was still defending this loser. Sarah glared right back, her face freezing over. Of course I know what I'm saying. But this whole mess wasn't entirely his fault. I share the blame here too. I'm the one who told him to do it. You told him to do it? You honestly couldn't believe your own ears. He almost got your little sister killed. Sarah, do you get that? Did you tell him to do that, too? But Sarah stubbornly doubled down. Martin, stop being so dramatic. It was never as serious as you're making it out to be. Those guys just wanted some cash. Look, Tommy messed up, sure, but that was never his original intention. Besides, Mia is perfectly fine now, isn't she? You stared at her, absolute fury boiling in your veins. Yeah, Mia and I are fine now, but I just lost 4 billion. If I didn't drop that cash, can you actually guarantee those thugs wouldn't have done something horrific to you? Sarah simply rolled her eyes, completely unfazed. Okay, yes, you paid 4 billion, but a little chunk of change like that shouldn't mean much to someone like you, right? As long as Mia is safe, isn't that all that matters? You stared at her, completely and utterly speechless. You say that so effortlessly. You think 4 billion is just pocket change? Is my hard-earned cash not real money to you? What kind of delusion are you living in? Sarah scoffed, crossing her arms disdainfully. What's the big deal? If you feel so cheated, you didn't have to swoop in and play the hero just now. Is 4 billion really that important to you? You were so furious that a bitter laugh actually escaped your lips. Sarah, honestly, before today, I just thought you were a little blinded by love. But looking at you right now, you don't even know the difference between right and wrong anymore. Since you love this guy so much, how about you pay back that 4 billion for him? Hearing your harsh words and seeing the sheer disgust on your face, Sarah felt a sudden, sharp sting in her chest. Gritting her teeth, she fired back. If I have to pay it, then I'll pay it. It's not like I can't afford it. It's just 4 billion. Yeah, that's right. Right on cue, Tommy scrambled to his feet. He hid behind Sarah, puffing out his chest proudly. It's just 4 billion. It's not like we can't afford it. He even had the audacity to shoot Sarah a smug, confident look. Watching them, you were so fiercely disgusted you practically wanted to throw up, you sighed impatiently. Then hurry up and write me an IOU. You two are genuinely sickening. Sarah hastily scribbled down an IOU and shoved the paper into your hands. There, are you satisfied now? Scanning the hastily written note, you shook your head. Nope. You need to add one more little clause. Interest has to be paid, on time, every single month. Sarah stared at you in absolute disbelief. Martin York, do not push me. You seriously want to charge me interest? You looked down at her with pure disdain. Sarah, you and I are absolutely nothing to each other right now. Why the hell wouldn't I charge interest? I'm not running a charity here. Write it down. Hearing that, Sarah ground her teeth in rage. Fine, fine. Interest it is. What's the big deal anyway? Snatching the pen, she furiously added the extra clause. You took the note, folded it neatly, and slipped it into your pocket before locking eyes with her. Miss Lee, please remember exactly what you just promised. If you miss a payment, I won't hesitate to sue you into the ground. Sarah shook her head, looking utterly disappointed. Martin, I have never met a man with so little class. To act this petty toward your own ex-wife, it's pathetic. You honestly couldn't stomach another second of her hypocritical garbage. You turned your attention to Mia. Come on, Mia, let's get out of here. I'm starting to feel seriously nauseous. Mia nodded eagerly, completely agreeing with you. She threw one last disgusted glare at her older sister and Tommy, let out a mocking snort, and closely followed you out the door. Watching you walk away, Tommy spat on the ground and cursed. That damn Mark, I never expected that loser to actually be the famous Martin York. He really kept us in the dark all this time. Suddenly smack. Sarah spun around and slapped Tommy right across the face. Tommy held his cheek, staring at her in total shock. Sarah? Why did you just hit me? Sarah clenched her fists, practically growling. Something this massive happens, and you never even thought to tell me? You almost dragged Mia down with you this time. What exactly were you trying to pull? Tommy scrambled to explain. Sarah, wait, I'm so sorry. I just care about you way too much. I didn't want you getting dragged into my mess, so I kept my mouth shut. God, I deserve to die. Saying that, the coward actually started slapping himself in the face. Seeing his pathetic display, Sarah's heart instantly melted. She rushed forward, grabbing his hands to stop his fake self-harm. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, she said, her voice dripping with affection. I completely misunderstood you, but you have to remember. I waited for you for years. I am never afraid of being dragged down by you. But when you hide things from me, that's what really hurts. Tommy managed a fake, gentle smile. Don't worry, Sarah, I swear, this is the very last time. From now on, I won't hide a single thing from you. But deep down, Tommy was practically throwing a party in his head. Thank God, Sarah wasn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. He had spent the whole day prepping a massive, tear-jerking speech, but he didn't even need to use it. Hearing his hollow promise, Sarah nodded happily, already lost in a daydream about her perfect future with him. Meanwhile, out on the cold street, Mia looked up at you, her eyes full of genuine concern. Brother-in-law, please don't be angry. My sister is. Well, she's always been like that. She had front row seats to that entire train wreck. Honestly, forget about how her brother-in-law felt. Even she was completely sick to her stomach. A life-or-death crisis had literally just ended, and her sister was still throwing herself at Tommy to defend him. It was mind-boggling. You just offered a calm smile and gently shook your head. I'm not angry. Someone like her isn't worth wasting my anger on. Hearing your calm tone, Mia finally let out a heavy sigh of relief. She clenched her tiny fists, her face dead serious. My sister seriously crossed the line today. But don't you worry, brother-in-law. That massive debt she owes you? I'll figure out a way to help pay it back. You looked down at the spunky girl, totally confused. What does any of this have to do with you? Mia pouted, crossing her arms stubbornly. How could it not have anything to do with me? If you didn't have to swoop in and save my life, you never would have lost those 4 billion. You chuckled warmly and reached out to pat Mia's head. Hey, losing a bit of cash is no big deal. As long as you're safe and sound, that's all that matters to me. Besides, your sister signed the dotted line to pay it back. This whole mess has absolutely nothing to do with you. You were just an innocent bystander dragged into their chaos. You seriously don't need to stress over this, and I definitely don't need a kid trying to pay me back. Long story short, don't let it weigh on your conscience. Hearing that, Mia beamed, her eyes sparkling. Brother-in-law, you are seriously way too amazing. My eyes are wide open now. Honestly, my sister is completely and utterly unworthy of a guy like you. Can you just wait for me a little bit longer? When I grow up? Will you marry me instead? You couldn't help but sigh, shaking your head helplessly at her wild imagination. All right, kid, stop talking nonsense. It's getting late. You could feel a migraine coming on. You really had no clue what was bouncing around inside that crazy little head of hers all day. Mia just playfully stuck her tongue out, looking incredibly adorable. She didn't try to argue with you. Instead, she just puffed out her chest and declared firmly, Brother-in-law, I am not talking nonsense. Just you wait and see. I am absolutely going to marry you someday. Hearing that bold claim, your headache instantly doubled. You stayed completely speechless, the entire drive as you escorted her back home. Seeing his youngest daughter walk through the door, perfectly safe and sound, Richard rushed over, nearly in tears. Thank the heavens, you girls are finally safe. Mia cheekily stuck out her tongue. Actually, Dad, brother-in-law was the one who protected us this time. Hearing that, Richard's face instantly shifted to sheer, solemn gratitude. Yes, of course. Martin. We already heard about everything that went down. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for saving my little girl. Please, you must accept my bow. With tears in his eyes, the older man actually started to kneel right in front of you. Startled, you shot forward and firmly caught Richard by the arms, hauling him back to his feet. Whoa, what are you doing? You're the elder here, and I'm the junior. There is no way I'd ever let you bow to me. You'll literally curse my lifespan doing something like that. But Richard stubbornly bowed deeply from the waist anyway. Martin, please, say no more. For the incredible kindness and sheer virtue you've shown us today, the Lee family will never, ever forget this debt. You scratched the back of your neck, feeling awkwardly embarrassed. You're really exaggerating, sir. I barely did anything. I just stepped up and did what any decent guy ought to do. You seriously don't need to make a big deal out of it. Hearing your humble words, Richard let out a heavy, emotional sigh. His hands trembled slightly as he pulled out a sleek bank card and pressed it into your palm. Martin, this card currently holds $2 billion. It is every last cent the Lee family has managed to save over the years. As for the remaining $2 billion, we will scrape together a way to gather it for you as quickly as humanly possible. Your brows knit into a tight frown, and you immediately tried to push the card back. What is this for? Sir, I can't possibly accept this kind of money from you. But Richard stepped back, aggressively insistent. Martin, listen to me. To save our little girl, you threw your own safety out the window and burned $4 billion in cash. There is absolutely no way I will let a young man like you bear that massive cost alone. Hurry up and just accept it. Look, I can't take this money, and I definitely didn't pay off that $4 billion debt, you explained quickly, trying to brush it off. Richard blinked in sheer confusion. Wait, if you didn't pay it, who the hell did? You just shook your head, letting out a heavy sigh. Let's not worry about it, okay? Just let it go. Seeing your ironclad stubbornness, Richard threw his hands up and dropped the subject, but the bewilderment in his eyes only grew. Martin, I swear, I never in a million years expected you to be the heir to the capital's York family. If that's the truth, why on earth did you keep it a secret? He asked. Honestly, it's a really long story, you replied, flashing a helpless smile before sitting down to explain the whole crazy chain of events. Listening to your unbelievable journey, Richard just shook his head in absolute awe. Kid, you did absolutely nothing wrong. It's my foolish, blind daughter who just didn't deserve your blessing, Richard sighed bitterly. A true gentleman gets tossed aside, while absolute scumbags get treated like royalty. As her father, I completely failed. You just smiled, reaching out to give his shoulder a reassuring pat. Hey, it's all right, Dad. That's all in the past now. No matter what happened, you'll always be my dad. Anyway, it's getting pretty late. I should probably head back. With that, you turned to head out of the Lee family mansion, but Richard practically leaped up and grabbed your arm. Hold on, You're already here, and it's pitch black outside. Just crash here for the night. You can always head out first thing tomorrow." You really wanted to politely decline, but the old man gripped your hand like a vice, absolutely refusing to take no for an answer. Totally helpless, you finally caved and agreed to stay. After making sure you were comfortable in the guest room, Richard quietly slipped away and knocked on his youngest daughter Mia's door. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Mia asked, eyes wide with surprise. She knew her father rarely barged into her room late at night unless it was a major emergency. Richard stared at his daughter, his expression dead serious. "Mia, listen to me. To save your life today, your brother-in-law completely threw his own safety out the window. You cannot end up like your foolish sister. You absolutely have to carve this massive debt of gratitude deep into your heart." Hearing the gravity in his voice, Mia gave a firm, solemn nod. "I know, Dad, don't worry about me. I'm not some ungrateful brat." Then, Richard rubbed his neck, looking incredibly awkward. "Mia, your brother-in-law is such an incredible guy. It's just a damn shame your sister was too blind to cherish him. Tell me honestly, do you have feelings for him too?" Hearing her own father ask something so blunt, Mia's face instantly exploded into a massive blush, but she still gave a stubborn, determined nod. A wave of relief washed over Richard's face. Coughing awkwardly, he leaned in. "Well, Mia, he's crashing at our place tonight. If he wakes up parched in the middle of the night, it'd be a real shame if we were terrible hosts, right?" Mia instantly caught on to her dad's completely unsubtle hint. Her pretty face flushed so hard her ears were practically steaming. Twisting her fingers nervously, she nodded. "Got it. I know exactly how to handle things tonight." Hours later, the silver moonlight spilled beautifully across the guest room floor. You were literally just about to hit the hay when a super soft, hesitant knock echoed from the door. Before you could even say a word, it creaked open. There stood Mia, nervously clutching a glass of water. She was drowning in one of her mother's oversized silk nightgowns, but the baggy fabric couldn't hide her youthful, undeniable charm. Her cheeks were burning bright red, totally destroying any illusion of coolness she was trying to pull off. "Brother-in-law, Dad thought you might be thirsty," she squeaked out. Looking at the poor, trembling girl, you didn't know whether to burst out laughing or sigh in defeat. You calmly walked over, took the glass, and set it on the nightstand. Then, you snatched a warm blanket and wrapped it snugly around her shivering shoulders. "Mia, you're a brilliant kid. Please don't do something crazy just because you feel a little grateful." Mia snapped her head up, tears shimmering in her slightly red eyes. "This isn't about gratitude. I actually really like you. Why won't you just accept me? Is it because I'm not as gorgeous as my sister?" You let out a heavy sigh, gently ruffling her hair. "This has zero to do with your sister. You're only 18, you've got an amazing life ahead of you, and I just barely survived a 3-year toxic nightmare of a marriage. I'm absolutely not going to ruin your bright future over some impulsive mistake." Mia bit her lip so hard it almost bled, stubbornly fighting back her tears. "Then, does that mean I still have a fighting chance down the road?" You couldn't help but flash a faint, warm smile. "Just go to sleep, kiddo. Let's let time figure out what happens next." Hearing that wonderfully ambiguous but super gentle response, Mia finally beamed. Suddenly, popping up on her tiptoes, she planted a quick, burning kiss right on your cheek before sprinting out of the room like a terrified little rabbit. You just touched your cheek, shaking your head in pure amusement. Man, this family was a beautiful disaster. The next few days dragged by in total, deceptive peace. But for Sarah, every single waking second was an absolute living hell. That 4 billion IOU weighed on her like a massive mountain. She went totally frantic, desperately liquidating her personal assets, pawning off her fleet of luxury cars, dumping designer bags, and selling every piece of jewelry she owned. But against a 4 billion debt, it was like throwing a bucket of water into a raging volcano. Even worse, Tommy had morphed into a complete stranger. Ever since the kidnapping fiasco, he'd turned violently irritable. He would lock himself inside the study for hours, frantically whispering into the phone. Then, one fateful afternoon, Sarah came home early. Exhausted and desperate, she dragged herself upstairs, just wanting to fall into her lover's comforting arms. But as she tiptoed near the study, Tommy's hushed voice slipped through the cracked door. "Yeah, I drained all the liquid funds from the Lee Group's shadow accounts. Managed to secure 50 million. Keep the private jet on standby. I need to be in the air in exactly 2 hours. The second I cross the border, those bastards won't be able to touch me." Sarah froze dead in her tracks, The blood in her veins literally turned to ice. Shoving the door wide open, she stared at Tommy in sheer, unadulterated horror. He was frantically stuffing massive bricks of cash and sparkling jewelry into a giant duffel bag. When he saw Sarah standing there, he flinched, but quickly slapped on a fake, calm face. "Oh, Sarah, you're home early." Sarah's voice shook like a leaf in a hurricane. "Are you actually robbing my family's company? Are you seriously running away right now?" Tommy let out an annoyed sigh, totally dropping his loving boyfriend act. His face instantly warped into a mask of pure, sickening cruelty. "Sarah, let's look at the facts here. You owe Martin York $4 billion. $4 billion. You're a freaking sinking Titanic. Did you honestly expect me to stay and drown at the bottom of the ocean with you?" Sarah clutched her chest, feeling like a rusty knife had just been twisted into her heart. But you said you loved me. You swore we'd face the world together. I literally divorced my husband for you." Tommy threw his head back and let out a cold, venomous laugh. "God, that just proves exactly how brain-dead you really are. I needed a naive idiot to cover my dirty tracks, and you practically begged for the job. Do you have any idea how pathetic you looked, begging your billionaire ex-husband for mercy while throwing yourself in front of me to protect me? Honestly, I almost felt sorry for you." "Well, almost." Letting out a completely shattered, agonizing scream, Sarah threw herself at him like a wild animal, desperately clawing at the duffel bag. "You lying piece of trash. Give that back right now. That is my family's money." Tommy's eyes flashed with absolute malice. Without hesitation, he wound up and delivered a vicious, bone-rattling slap right across her face. Smack! The brutal impact sent Sarah crashing violently to the floor, her cheek ballooning up in a matter of seconds. Tommy stood over her, his eyes dripping with absolute, unfiltered disgust. "Stay the hell out of my way, you crazy psycho." Without batting an eye, he zipped up the massive bag of stolen cash, literally stepped right over her sobbing, crumpled body, and marched out the front door. Sarah just lay there on the cold floor, completely paralyzed as her entire universe shattered into a million jagged pieces. The horrific truth finally hit her like a freight train. Martin was right, her father was right. She was officially the biggest, most pathetic idiot on planet Earth. Tommy mashed the gas pedal, tearing toward the airport with a wildly pounding, twistedly excited heart. He had 50 million cold hard cash in the bag. He was about to start a glamorous new life on a tropical beach. But right as his car swerved toward the private runway, bam! 3 massive, jet black SUVs violently cut him off, completely boxing him in. Tommy slammed on the brakes, screaming in panic. Before he could blink, the SUV doors swung open, and a dozen terrifying, suit-clad goons poured out. And then, stepping out from the center vehicle like an absolute boss, was a wildly familiar figure. It was you. You casually strolled over to Tommy's car and gave the glass a lazy little tap. Shaking like a wet chihuahua, Tommy frantically rolled down the window. "Martin? Mr. York? What? What is the meaning of this?" You leaned in, eyes locking onto the bulging duffel bag sitting comfortably in the passenger seat. "Stealing from the Lee family, huh?" You chuckled darkly. Tommy. You truly are a spectacular piece of trash. Did your tiny brain happen to forget that the Lee family's gargantuan debt belongs to me now? Which basically means, you're trying to steal my money. Tommy went completely pale, desperately shoving the massive bag out the window. "Take it. Take every last cent. Just let me walk away. I'm begging you." You threw your head back and let out a chilling, merciless laugh. "Let you go? I warned you before, buddy. Anyone stupid enough to mess with me ends up living a very, very miserable nightmare." You simply raised 2 fingers. Without a second thought, your massive bodyguards yanked a violently screaming Tommy right out through the window. "Toss him to the cops. I've already handed over a mountain of airtight evidence proving his massive international fraud and embezzlement schemes. This scumbag is going to spend the rest of his miserable life rotting away in a tiny concrete cell." Watching Tommy get dragged away across the asphalt like a whimpering, pathetic dog, your face didn't show a single ounce of pity. Exactly 1 month later, crushed under the suffocating weight of that $4 billion debt, the Lee Group officially waved the white flag and declared bankruptcy. But acting completely from the shadows, you swooped in and acquired the entire empire for pennies. Setting up a massive new headquarters in Shanghai City, you flawlessly merged the Lee Group's assets right into the Yan family's portfolio. Victoria Yan immediately stepped up as your fiercely loyal right-hand woman, helping you dominate and manage a jaw-dropping $30 billion investment empire. As for Richard and Barbara, you bought the old couple an insanely luxurious new mansion right under Mia's name, and tossed Richard a cushy, ridiculously high-paying executive chair at the new company. They were basically set for life. Meanwhile, Mia absolutely crushed her exams and got into the university of her dreams right up in the capital. Naturally, this made it dangerously convenient for her to constantly bug the hell out of you every time you came back into town. You never gave her any kind of official romantic promise, but you happily let the stubborn girl stick by your side, allowing time to slowly water whatever crazy seed was starting to bloom between you two. And what about Sarah? The once proud heiress literally had absolutely nothing left. Totally stripped of her flashy CEO title, her massive fortune, and every last shred of her dignity, she was too drowning in toxic shame to even accept a single dime of charity from her own parents. Then, on one freezing, rainy afternoon, your absolutely stunning, chauffeur-driven Maybach glided to a stop at a red light in the dead center of the city. Staring through the dark, tinted glass, your eyes caught something moving. Standing outside a super dingy, run-down little cafe was a woman, shivering in a cheap, embarrassing uniform, desperately shoving flyers into the hands of irritated strangers in the pouring rain. Her hair was completely plastered to her face, her skin looked ridiculously exhausted, and she had aged horribly beyond her years. It was Sarah, and honestly, it was the perfect ending. A sleek luxury car tore past her way too close, splashing a massive puddle of muddy water all over her uniform. Honestly, she didn't even have the energy left to get mad. She just stood there, hopelessly wiping the mud off her face as hot tears mixed with the pouring rain. Right at that very second, she looked up and spotted your Maybach. Even through the heavily tinted glass, it was like her radar went off. She instantly knew you were the one sitting inside. Her eyes widened, suddenly flooding with an absolute ocean of endless, crushing regret. She stumbled a step forward, looking like she desperately wanted to say something, maybe even get on her knees and beg for a second chance. Too bad, the traffic light snapped to green. Drive, you said, your voice ice-cold and completely calm. The engine roared to life, smoothly accelerating and leaving her pathetic figure entirely behind in the rearview mirror. You just leaned back into the plush leather seat and slowly closed your eyes. The miserable past was finally dead and buried. And this new future? It belonged completely to Martin York, and it had only just begun.